but it's special for us to win a series 2-0 with 1 to play. We've had a good 2 or 3 months as a team, and I'm just really proud of the way the team is moving forward. We're challenging each other. We want to go to places where it's almost unlikely to go, and you can see that's happening.
Yes, a very good morning to you here from the Newsroom team. Elvis is here, Kendall is here, and so am I. Wonderful day if you are a member of the South African cricket team or in the South African cricket fraternity. South Africa have now done, well, the unthinkable, winning a 3rd series in a row in Australia. Just 10 years ago, that was almost unthinkable. We're asking you a question today with regards to that. Of course, South Africa rolled the Australians over for 161 this morning, Kendall. It was one of the great performances. Once again, another batting collapse, but absolutely incredible bowling.
Absolutely, and in fact, Faf du Plessis talks about it, how relentless they were. And that's exactly why, for today, our question for the day is, should Faf du Plessis be named the permanent captain of the Proteas?
In all formats, I should say, because we had 3 captains before, and that definitely didn't work. He now seems to have the trust of a very young team, exciting team with the likes of Kagiso Rabada, who's going to be a world star. You can see he's 100%. Inspired confidence in players like JP Duminy that previous captains haven't. So an absolutely incredible performance, and kudos should go to the captain, Faf du Plessis.
I do believe that he's actually done the job on this one. Vernon Fernandez bowling fantastically well, and so is Kyle Abbott. So it's been a really good performance by the entire team. And you know what? I agree with you. Faf du Plessis is definitely the guy who's actually made it happen.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why we're asking you that question. Elvis is in the naughty corner over here, not saying much. Elvis, we're going to talk about that, but you've been watching the Proteas from afar a little bit. It's wonderful to see, isn't it?
Very wonderful to see. And you know, the inspiration that Faf brought to the team, that's something different entirely. But another question that's on my mind this morning is about food prices. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
The people are hungry.
Abantu balambila.
Yeah. Now, if you can look at this particular chart, there's a comparison between urban and rural food prices. You will see, and I'm going to take you down to the bottom, Ceylon black tea.
Yeah.
23 Rand in the rural areas. 12 Rand 82 in the urban areas. Now that is almost criminal. Yeah. How can tea be so expensive in the rural area?
Double the price. Double the price in the rural areas, which is a bit of a shocker. That's why we're running the poll today.
That's why we're running the poll, yes. And that poll that we have there for you talks to this. We want to know from you, do you think that food prices are really spiraling out of control? That's the question we are posing to you on our poll. There you can see it. 97% thus far says yes, it is getting out of control, and 3% are saying no.
89 votes. That's quite significant if it's like overwhelming. I think we're all feeling the pinch everywhere around the country and around the world. We're feeling the pinch of escalating food prices, even here in South Africa, even more so because of the drought.
Yes, even more so because of the drought. Because we have to import now, and that costs more, obviously.
Yeah, so keep it coming. Send us tweets. Is food price, is it getting out of control? And also, what do you think of Faf? I think he's absolutely amazing for what he's done in a very short little time with the South African cricket team. But there's also lots of other news, lots of other happenings in Parliament and the like today. Elvis is going to give us that update quickly.
The Hawks confirms that they are investigating allegations linking the State Security Minister David Mahlobo to a rhino poaching syndicate. The trial of the Fees Must Fall leader and Wit student Kebo Dlamini is expected to kick off. And over 50 houses have reportedly been damaged after a tornado ripped through Ennerdale, south of Johannesburg last night. You can see some of the pictures right there on your screen, and we'll keep you updated on that story. Now, those are all your news headlines. But before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front.
Elvis, I'll give you no prizes to guess exactly what we're going to be focusing on today. It's an amazing day in the history of South African cricket, in fact, South African sports. And I think we all feel the same with you as well. When you woke up this morning thinking that you're going to see a little bit of a cricket, and it was all over. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
24 overs. That could be it. Yes, it is. South Africa have wrapped up the second test match. Carl Abbott picks up his 6th wicket.
The Proteas win big in Australia by an innings and 80 runs, with Carl Abbott, the destroyer-in-chief, taking 6 Aussie scalps in a rare series win down under. And Andy Murray gets his reign as the newly crowned world #1 off to a perfect start as he blasts Marin Cilic in front of his home crowd.
Game set match, Murray. Just after now, the 6-3, 6-2.
Bafana face off against neighbours Mozambique in an international friendly at the Estadio Nacional do Zimpeto in Maputo tonight. All this and more we've got for you in the Sports Bulletin. Be sure to stick around for it about 10:40 or so. But for now, of course, it is back to Overseas Scotland News.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. The State Security Minister, David Mashlobo, says he's appalled by the allegations of the Chinese national Zhang Jingyang that link him to a rhino poaching syndicate. Mashlobo says he's exploring legal options to clear his name.
The trafficker bragged about his political connections.
This is the television documentary that's raised eyebrows. The man seen here, a Mbombela spa owner and self-confessed rhino trafficker. In this undercover investigation, he brags about his alleged close relationship with the State Security Minister David Mashlobo. Guan Jingguang claims that Mashlobo visited his massage parlor every week, or at least twice a month, and that he was even a guest at his home. But the State Security Minister says this is far from the truth.
I'm not a friend of the person. The person does not say I'm a friend. The person says he knows me very well and how I visit the spa treatment. Therefore, this thing about friendship that is becoming a big issue international and local is a fallacy, and it seeks to defame me. Have I ever gone to their house? I've never been to the man's house. I don't even know where his house is.
He says allegations that he is linked to rhino poaching are unfounded and slanderous. The State Security Minister says he is appalled by the allegations and has instructed the Mpumalanga Provincial Police Commissioner to investigate them. He's also called for swift action against the self-confessed rhino trafficker.
I'm not going to respond in terms of our investigations, but what I can tell you is that every matter that is brought before the police is definitely going to receive the necessary attention.
Over 700 rhino were killed between January and August this year, and there are fears that if the scourge continues, the rhino could be extinct by the year 2020. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Pretoria.
The Hawks have confirmed that they are investigating the allegations linking the State Security Minister David Mashlobo to a rhino poaching syndicate. Those allegations have been made in a documentary by the television network Al Jazeera. In it, the Chinese businessman Zhang Jingyang boasts about his links to Mashlobo, adding that he bribes justice and immigration officials. The minister says he's ready to face an investigation. The Hawks say they will look at every avenue, and then once they are done, they will take the docket to the NPA for a decision. Now, for more on this story, we're now joined on the line by the Hawks spokesperson, Angwani Malaudzi. A very good morning to you, Angwani, and welcome.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Firstly, can you confirm that the Hawks will be investigating the links between the State Minister David Mashlobo and the rhino poaching syndicate?
Yeah, look, this is a very, these are serious allegations that were made in that documentary. And as such, the national head, together with provincial head and the provincial commissioner of Mpumalanga, and already investigations, actually the investigators are going to kickstart in terms of trying to get exactly what these allegations entail. We are going to be looking at different avenues, the things that were being said. At the same time, we are also happy that the minister himself has volunteered to work with us in terms of this investigation, so he needs to be commended for that.
Mm-hmm. So the investigation has already started?
The investigation already started. Look, what we can confirm, I think the public needs to understand as well that the main suspect in that DVD, we have been investigating him for some time. We are aware of his shenanigans in this country. There's a project that we have already registered looking into the issues of rhino poaching in this country, and he was one of the main suspects that we have identified. So this is not something new. Mr. Guan has been on our radar for a long time. There are a lot of people that have been arrested, out of our investigation. So this documentary, I think, as it played on Sunday, people thought this was a new thing. Yes, they would know that from their own point of view, but from our own point of view, it's something that we've been looking for some time. And we have a project that we are running, and we are hoping that our members sooner or later will be able to finalize this project, because it has been running for some time.
Now, the documentary reported widely on the widespread rhino poaching in the Kruger National Park, and of course associate with that what is happening there. Are you perhaps also looking into that, or are you only investigating the link between the State Minister David Mashlobo and the rhino syndicate?
No, look, we have an endangered species unit within the Hawks that deals with issues of rhino poaching and other endangered species, the protected endangered species in this country. So it's an ongoing investigation. Mr. Guan is one of those people that we have been looking at. You would know that there's a lot of arrests that we have made, including at the airport when people wanted to fly off the country. We have had an incident or a huge operation here in Pretoria where we managed to confiscate about 100 rhino horns. So these are projects that we have registered. So the matter between Mr. Guan and the Minister of Mr. Msobo, it's something separate because these are allegations that have been made against him. So we have to obviously get a statement from him. His wife was also mentioned, so those are the things that we look at. And then once we are done with that investigation, we will then take it to the NPA for a decision.
Wonderful. So there will be, the investigation will include the minister, his wife, as well as the gentleman in question?
Look, it has been reported in that, it was mentioned that his wife was also, I don't know whether she was also involved or what. So I think it will be good for us to be able to close all the loopholes rather than to do only a single-faceted investigation. We need to close all the loopholes to make sure that everything is caught. We collect everything. Then therefore, we will then have to take it to the NPA, where they will then make a decision whether to prosecute or not.
Mr. Malawutsi, I thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, sir.
That was Hangwani Malawutsi joining us on the line, spokesperson there to give us the update and the latest coming from that particular problem that the minister has picked up, being mates with a Chinese national. Now let's move on to other stories. The Constitutional Court has dismissed a court application by the Democratic Alliance to declare notice by South Africa to leave the International Criminal Court unconstitutional. The party had approached the courts to have the government's decision to withdraw from the ICC set aside. The Justice Minister, Michael Masuta, said on Friday that the government's reason for removing itself as signatories of the Rome Statute was due to a conflict between its obligations to the African Union to grant its heads of state immunity. The announcement by South Africa to quit the Hague-based court echoed that of many other African countries which have accused the court of bias towards African leaders in particular. There's still no sign of the body of a 3-year-old girl who was swept away during flooding here in Gauteng last week. This, while the body of the pregnant 34-year-old Caroline Sithole was recovered near Linksfield in Johannesburg over the weekend. She will be buried in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe on Saturday.
She has gone with the baby that she's carrying.
And for this family, each day brings a new sense of a devastating loss. Caroline Sithole was 6 months pregnant at the time of her death. Her body was retrieved on Saturday after she disappeared during flash floods in Edenvale on Wednesday.
She's a florist. She loved flowers, you know. She was a lovely person.
But closure for the family as Sitholi's remains were found. Shadrach Chauge, however, is grief-stricken. The body of his 3-year-old daughter is yet to be recovered.
Whenever I move around here, I imagine her. I never thought I would have lost my daughter this way.
But it's back to square one for the rescue team.
We've covered over 70 cases, but we are not giving up until we reach Hartbeespoort Sports again. We have more teams that are working on the sides of the riverbank just to check the debris.
Government officials have come on board.
We're taking care of the human aspects of the distress. It's social relief of distress that we are actually all about.
While rainy days are not over yet, here, a community is stuck between hope for the best and preparation for the worst. Mariketla Motlabe, SABC News, Alexandra in the north of Johannesburg.
While we're talking about floods here in Johannesburg, the country is very dry. We have a drought going on, and some much-needed rain fell over the last couple of days. Now, to take up this particular issue and, of course, the story relating to food insecurity or security here in South Africa, let's go over to Eben to start the conversation.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Thomas. Very good morning if you've just joined us now. The Department of Water and Sanitation says it will take up to 2 or 3 years for South Africa to recover from the drought conditions that it's currently experiencing. The government earlier declared 8 provinces in disaster areas due to insufficient rainfall. Many municipalities across the country have been forced to impose water restrictions as a result of this. Now, with agriculture contributing almost 12% to the gross domestic product, how has the drought affected farmers and what's the recovery like? Well, we see people losing their jobs in the agricultural sector. To talk about this and food prices, we are joined by the president of the National African Farmers Union, Mr. Matlala Motsepe. A very good morning to you, Mr. Motsepe. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, sir.
Now, Mr. Motsepe, we've seen some rainfall recently. We've seen flooding here in Johannesburg, but it's going to take a long time for farmers to recover after what's been a very difficult period, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the damage has already been done, and I think the cost of that damage is quite high. And I think now we need to talk about how are we going to recover our losses in terms of which the people that feed this country would then obviously go back and begin to produce food for the people of South Africa. That's a difficult one because clearly it does appear that we don't necessarily have a very good plan for the recovery plan.
You touched on food. We of course asking our viewers a question today with regards to food prices. Is it spiraling out of control? And overwhelmingly people are feeling yes, prices of food is getting out of control for people. How do you, as the farmers of South Africa, how do you view what is happening with regards to food and food prices?
Let me take you back to 2007, 2008, and begin to say to you that that was something that South Africa could have prevented in terms of food prices at that time. Obviously, the reduction of food prices from that particular time has not necessarily and adequately improved. That obviously begin to say to any business person that there is something particularly wrong. Because I think we need to acknowledge that drought will always come, and drought has always been here. Accordingly, I think it is then begin to be imperative on the part of South Africans, not only government, but the people in South Africa, particularly government, business, and interested parties, to begin to put together a plan that would mitigate against what I have just told you, which of course the losses would be very high. That would obviously impact on the food prices for the poor.
Yeah. Now, this is always laid at the door of the farmers. They're saying, yeah, the drought, the food prices go up because of what's happening on our farms. Our viewers are saying, yes, but the food prices go up, but when conditions improve, they never come down. It's often being put at the foot of farmers that this is happening. What is your response to that?
Really, farmers have never been taken seriously in this country, like you can compare with the French farmers. I had the privilege of traveling the world to see what is happening in many European and African countries. Our farmers are not really taken serious because they are actually price takers. They don't determine their own price. At the same time, we are accused of paying low salaries because the middlemen are actually the people that are determining these prices for ourselves. And I think it is quite important that the people of South Africa and smart people in business in South Africa could come together to begin to address this matter.
Let's talk quickly about the drought and South Africa's black farmers and the emerging farmers. How are they coping with what is happening on the fields and in the fields right now?
You're asking me a difficult question because clearly black farmers in South Africa in general don't necessarily have one problem that you are actually talking about. There are serious historical problems, and when you then begin to add the drought issue, it obviously means a certain death on their part, and obviously very difficult to come up and really begin to manage their businesses because clearly they have lost. Black farmers are looking up to government to support them, and many people are here in radio and everywhere. They look up to government to say the government must support, but there is no way that government can actually support black farmers alone or the farmers of South Africa alone.
Yeah.
We need to impress on the corporate citizens to begin to play part in our food security issues.
In conclusion, what is your message then today to the people watching out there and who are complaining that the prices of food are getting out of control?
Now that the government of the Republic of South Africa has prioritized agriculture, I think, and indeed put together the NDP, it is very important for the South African business, particularly those who are so skilled, because we have unbelievable thinkers, the champions of industry in South Africa, to come together with government to actually begin to shape up or put together a plan that would obviously begin to address pertinent issues that give us problem to reduce the food prices in South Africa. Lastly, it is my view that it cannot be business as usual. The South African agriculture is the most important, in my view, of every department because it is indeed the department that actually produces food. I'm talking about farmers.
Yeah.
It would be very good if farmers are given the opportunity and the environment to farm on farms is created to an extent where men and women on farms could produce our food without looking on their back that they will be killed or their stock will be stolen. I think that is the message that I would share with the people of this country who I respect, and I have faith in the leadership of our country.
Thank you for joining us today. That's the President of the National African Farmers Union, Mr. Matlala Motsepe. Of course, we're talking about drought, we're talking about the problems that farmers are facing, but more importantly, we're asking you the question on our poll today. Our question on the poll is, well, is the food price spiraling out of control? How much do you feel the pain? 95%. An overwhelming yes this morning. The price of food is getting out of control and people can't cope. 106 of you have voted, so that is a fair reflection of what people on the streets are feeling. We are all feeling the pain of food prices. When we get to the till, of course, you look at your bill and it's 25% more than what you were paying at the beginning of the year, and that should be a concern for all of us. Let's go on to the social pages now and have a look at what's happening there this morning. We'll begin with sports news. The good news today, of course, hashtag Protea Fire. Yes, South Africa became the first team ever to beat Australia in 3 consecutive series at home. Carl Abbott and Kagiso Rabada, they were the men of the moment, bowled superbly earlier today to knock South Australia over for 161 on only the 4th day of the test. The Proteas won by a massive margin in innings and 80 runs. And this tweet from Matt Peterson says, what an amazing result. Official CSA absolutely smashing it in Australia. Well done, Proteas, well done. Of course, there was the tornado, very much the hashtag to look out for is Ennerdale in the south of Johannesburg last night. Now, the twister is said, there you have a picture, the twister is said to have touched down between 6 and 7 p.m., leaving 1 person injured and damaging around 50 houses. And they tell us that this is not uncommon. Anyhow, from Beijing to Berlin, stargazers around the world admired the supermoon last night. You'll see it again tonight. It's the largest, brightest full moon in nearly 70 years. Yes, 77 decades, as it made its way across the skies over the last 24 hours. Then, finally, hashtag President Jacob Zuma will today visit victims of the recent flash floods in Alexandra Township here north of Johannesburg. The presidency says the president will also visit a family of 3-year-old Everard Chauke who went missing during the flight. Of course, here you see some of the pictures that had us all stunned last week. Now, yesterday we asked the question, is there any merit in Julius Malema's calls to take back the land? We saw the case in court on this very show yesterday. Let's have a look at some of your tweets with regards to that call for the land to be taken back. Mbongeni Senyati says land grabbing is unlawful. People should be given back the land, but in a lawful procedure. South Africa is a country guided by laws. What an informed and sobering view there. Then Makuba Maivala says, Newsroom, no, Malema is politically disoriented. We are all South Africans with equal rights. No one will be violated, he says. Naftali says, yes, people stay in congested areas while there's unoccupied land out there. Newsroom. Ali Emmanuel says, Malema is right. We are behind you, Malema. We will burn this country down for the truth. That is a shocker, Ali. This one from Ikonanato says, land of our ancestors was forcefully taken away. We demand it back now, so there is merit in what Malema is saying. Government was wake, he says. That was our question. Yesterday. Let's take a quick look now at our picture of the day. Of course, the picture that has caused all the, caused a sensation on social media. Of course, if you can have a look at it. Where is the picture of the day? Can we have a look at it? It's a tornado picture that came out of Ennerdale. If you take a full screen, there it is. There you see the formation of that tornado. You see the damage. 50 houses, yes, 50 houses damaged and 1 person injured as they were simply blown over in the massive storm that came through yesterday. Let's take a quick look now at our comment of the day. This one from Wilfred Palmer. And he says, if you thought the moon was super, you haven't seen the Proteas play cricket. Talking about Oz versus SA. And what a wonderful morning. What a wonderful way it was to wake up to see the Proteas simply rolling over Australia once again. It doesn't happen that often in a lifetime, I can tell you that. The Proteas have now done it 3 times in a row. No other team has ever done that. Can they win 3-0? That remains to be seen when they go to Adelaide next week. Let's take a quick look now at what's happening in the courts. We'll start in Johannesburg. Of course, the fees must fall leader and former SRC President Nebo Dlamini will appear in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. Dlamini is facing charges of theft, assault, public violence and malicious damage to property following violent student protests here in South Africa. In the Northwest Province, the trial against a man accused of killing 7 people by dousing them with petrol and setting them alight is continuing this morning in the Mahikeng High Court in the Northwest Province. An interesting case that has a lot of us up in arms. We'll keep you updated with this. We're going to take a short commercial break, but when we come back, we'll escalate this discussion in studio here when we talk about the prices of food, and of course how drought is affecting us. What can you do after a short break?
Macro is going big on festive season savings with high-tech deals like the new PS4 1TB slim console with Call of Duty and God of War 3, only 5,999, save 700 Rand. A Samsung 55-inch smart curved UHD LED TV for 14,999, save 3,000 Rand. And save 100 Rand on the new TomTom Touch activity tracker, now only 2,399. Share in these and other big festive savings for home, for business, for life. Macro, big on life.
This morning we focus on drought, money as well. My grandmother used to say, money is the root of all evil. Now, the millions of rands that the government has set aside for drought relief has pitted farmer against farmer and sparked fears of food price increases. Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan pledged nearly 500 million rand in drought relief to farmers in his medium-term budget speech recently. Now, despite this, commercial farmers are accusing the government of bias. Commercial farmers and the associations are accusing the government of ignoring their plight and of instead focusing solely on emerging and subsistent farmers. Now, to talk about the drought relief funds and how much the drought has hit the commercial farmers, we are now joined by Hamlet Shlomendlini. He is the senior economist at Agri-SA. A very good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, do you, as Agri-SA, feel sidelined by government with regards to the millions that was pledged for drought relief?
I think to answer that question, we need to just maybe go back and look at the impact of drought on the farmers themselves. Drought has had a tremendous impact on the farming sector in South Africa.
Across the board.
Across the board, I'm telling you, across the value chain, right from the farmer, that is from the gate of the farm, to the end user of the products, which is a consumer, you and I. From the farmer's side, we've noticed that the land or crop land that was cultivated in the passing season, it has gone down by 20-21%. And also the output has also followed the same trend, declining by almost 25%. And this has a tremendous impact now on the food security. But not only that, we also noticed that food prices inflated because of that. And you would remember that 15% of the CPI constitute or represents the agricultural food, and therefore the end user is really impacted by this. And if we look at the crop production, and you'd see that during the 2015-2016 season, it has gone down by something like I said, 25%. And if you look at the livestock production, it's very bad in there, because we've seen a lot of livestock like cattle, sheep, dying. We don't have exactly the accurate figure, but it is estimated that only in KZN, 40,000 cows, cattle died during the last season, you know. And we've also noticed that there was a spike in the slaughter rate.
Yes.
Yeah, and we estimate that the slaughter for cattle has gone up by around 23%. Sheep has gone up by around 37%, and pigs about 12%. So the farmers, they are forced now to actually slaughter to make sure that their livestock, they do not die.
And obviously from that perspective, when there's more meat on the table, then obviously the prices come down for the consumer.
One would look at it like that, but it's not really that, because the demand for meat under the conditions is actually more, because most animals, rather than being slaughtered, have died. So the meat prices have gone up slightly, but compared to all agriculture or other foods, have stayed a little bit low.
Now, let's go back to the point in terms of the drought relief funds.
Yes.
Are you feeling sidelined?
To a certain extent, yes, we are feeling a bit sidelined.
Why?
As Agri-SA, we have gone to government and we have proposed to government that government should at least support the farmers under this cloud of drought. And
but isn't all farmers then being looked after in this particular relief?
All farmers, when we were speaking to the government, we were speaking not only for the commercial farmers, we're speaking for all farmers across. Remember, agriculture in South Africa, whether you are smallholder or commercial, you contribute towards the sector, and you were affected by the drought as well. So when we were talking to government, we were talking for the farmers across. And what we proposed to the government was at least an interest subsidy of 3%. And what interest subsidy does, and it is something that has been implemented by numerous governments that have been under fiscal pressure when facing these natural disasters. They have implemented this. First, you need that when you need the interest subsidy when you have a problem with the carry debt, with the carry-over debt. That is the debt that has been incurred because of failure in crop outputs. And you also need it to facilitate the production for the next coming season. So that is why we needed that from government. Yes, government has pledged or has given an amount of 212 million. But where that has gone, we still have to see exactly where did it end up. We don't know exactly who the money has actually helped because we don't have it on our records.
So black farmers and subsistence farmers, you are saying as Agri-SA, they are getting more support from government.
We're not saying that. Remember, these farmers are facing a lot of challenges, and drought just added on that. There's just so many challenges that they are facing. And to be honest with you, 250 million, it's actually a drop in the ocean compared to what these farmers need, because it would just help just a small number of farmers.
What happens in the case when we have a good year, when there's good rains and there's enough food for everybody? Does the farmers ever pay this money back to government, that government pledges in this case?
Yes, you gotta look at it not in that way. Does farmers pay back the money? The commercial farmers, of course, they don't necessarily get money from the government. They get it through loans from the banks. And of course, the smallholder farmers, to a certain extent, they do get what we call not funding grants from the government. So they don't necessarily need to pay that back.
But you are calling for this interest subsidy of 3%, which will help the commercial farmers to survive.
And that will keep them in par and keep them in business and keep them in solvency position as well.
What is that 3% substitute?
Well, it's substitute for food security. That's the main thing here. It's substitute for food security. We have to ensure that South Africa remains the net exporter of food, which is currently at the moment. So we have to make sure that is sustained and South Africa remains the net exporter of food.
Shlomo, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Thank you very much.
Now that was the Agri-SA senior economist Hamlet Shlomo talking to us about the drought relief funds and how hard they have been hit by the drought, as well as the call for that 3% interest subsidy. Well, let's go over now to Eben to find out what's happening on social media and some of the comments coming through.
But it's special for us to win a series 2-0 with 1 to play. We've had a good 2 or 3 months as a team, and I'm just really proud of the way the team is moving forward. We're challenging each other. We want to go to places where it's almost unlikely to go, and you can see that's happening.
Yeah, wonderful morning. If you're a South African cricket supporter, of course, the Proteas routed Australia on the 4th morning. And, of course, none more impressive than the captain, Faf du Plessis, over the last couple of games, actually over the last couple of months, to be honest. So we've been asking you this question on screen. Should Faf now be named the permanent captain of the Proteas across all formats of the game? Yes, it's a fair question. We tried a captain in every different format. It hasn't worked. Right now, it seems as if we've got it right with Faf. Let's have a look at your comments, what you think about Faf, and what do you say. This one from Certified says, well done to the Proteas for their dominant display over one of the world's best, says. Abu Bakr Asik says, that was beautiful bowling display from the Proteas. Tennant says, we'll enjoy this Proteas thrashing of the Aussies down under for days to come. Yes, that's a sentiment all around South Africa, one would think. This one from Resurrected Theo says, got to appreciate the energy from the Proteas last couple of months against these Aussie bullies, says Caesar. Axel says, the Proteas would have won this match on day 3 if it wasn't for the rain. Such disrespect. He says, yes. Let's have a look at some of the pictures that's coming through. That's the man of the moment. Faf du Plessis has really put his hand up to captain South Africa for the years to come. Of course, wonderful pictures. That was at the end of the game. Carl Abbott. And you can see a team that is absolutely united under the captaincy. Players that were out of form, the likes of JP Dumini, Dean Alga and so forth. They've all stepped up under the guidance and tutelage of Faf du Plessis. That is where we're at with the South African team today. We're very happy about that. Let's take a quick look at what you can see on our Facebook page. We see the MPA says victims of the University of Cape Town serial rapist can now start the healing process. The 43-year-old Patrick Klomane was sentenced in the Western Cape High Court to 9 life sentences plus 108 years of direct imprisonment. He was found guilty of rape, kidnapping, assault and robbery. Then we also, Gambia has notified the United Nations of its withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, which will take effect on November 10, 2017. This according to UN spokesperson Faranak. The The Hague-based tribunal. Finally, President Barack Obama said on Monday he would reassure U.S. allies during his trip overseas this week that Republican President-elect Donald Trump plans to maintain the core U.S. strategic partnerships around the world, including with NATO. That's what's on our Facebook page right now. Let's take a quick look around the world and have a look what's on some of the front pages in the world today. In the UK, The Independent reports that Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia were the leading cause of death last year, according to new figures from the Office for National Statistics. Then, down under in Australia, The Australian says New Zealand is facing a damages bill of hundreds of millions of dollars after the second destructive earthquake in 5 years. That's reduced swaths of the South Island to rubble, killing at least 2 people and sending emergency crews on a race to free trapped victims all around the country there. Finally, in Israel, the Jerusalem Post reports that as the coalition prepared for a contentious vote on legalizing West Bank outposts, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his opposition leader Isaac Herzog sparred over the weekend over comments by the latter that could be interpreted as him calling residents of the Amona outpost a virus. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this.
A presumed U.S. drone strike in the south of the country has killed 3 al-Qaeda suspects.
Death toll in Yemen's 18-month-old civil war now stands at about 10,000.
People get killed or die and are actually buried before they're recorded, and we don't have a way of recording that, but we know the numbers are much higher.
Water restrictions are to be imposed on villages in and around the Nkomazi municipality.
Pumps can't pump the water because there's no water in a river, and if the water is coming back, then it's full of mud.
Those who can pray and those who can do any miracle to make sure that we've got enough rain, give it a try.
Welcome back here with Newsroom on SABC News. Now, South Africa has been experiencing the hottest weather conditions in over a century, leading to this extreme drought that we've seen. The drought has sent the country scrambling to provide financial assistance to farmers, with the agricultural sector being the hardest hit by the drought. Will we see food prices go up once again? Now, to talk to this, we are joined by Wandile Sihlobo from the Agricultural Business Chamber. He's in Pretoria this morning. Very good morning to you, Wandile. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How do you view, give us a quick overview, what is the state of play right now? Should we be very concerned here in South Africa?
No, I mean, not really. Right now, for example, food inflation is already around about 11.6%. But at the Chamber, we think that, in the next month or so, you could see that going up to 12%. But thereafter, we forecast a little bit of some relief. We think that number will come back to a single-digit number, particularly around about Q2 of next year. We say that because, I mean, if you look at the weather conditions right now, as well as the outlook, it's really promising, and we've seen some good rainfall so far. And the guys in the eastern side of South Africa have really started planting. I mean, you look at Mpumalanga, 70% has already been planted. Natal, good progress in there. So, yeah, the outlook is promising, and if weather conditions remain this way, we might as well see condition improving next year.
Now, we've seen drought, we see floods. How does that play out within the value chain? Are they both putting pressure on food prices?
No, I mean, look, with the floods, of course, you do see that, particularly around the cities. But in the farms also, we've seen some good high rainfall in there. But it's not really hurting us at this point, particularly because, I mean, the water tables were pretty much dried out. So no matter how much rainfall you do get, it does help us in replenishing that soil moisture. So I would imagine that if then we continue to get high rainfall up until maybe mid next year, then it could start to be concerning. But so far, I think that is bonding well with the dryness that was already existing in there. So, like I said, this year is going to be tough, but next year the outlook is pretty much promising.
Now, Wandile, we're always informed, or we always get to see food prices go up. When and how do we see a time when food prices come down?
No, I mean, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that farmers plant commodities, not particularly food. Then those commodities get to be processed up until the food chain. So that processing chain takes pretty much some time. For example, if you look at maize meal, when the price of maize goes up or down, it usually it has a lag of around about 6 months before you start that to see filtering through on things like SAMP maize meal in your table. And when maize prices also move, to really see the impact of that around the daily products, around the meat and all of those things, it's usually about a 9 months lag or so. So next year, that's why I'm saying you could see a recovery or a relief on food prices around about the second quarter. Because no matter what happens in commodities, already now we do see maize prices already slightly coming down from what we saw early this year, around about 10% decline now that we've seen on maize prices. And for that to really filter through, it's going to take some time. And then that's what we are seeing. And as per to say, but the guys don't really get to enjoy all of the relief. Some of the other things is more like your administrative costs, because I mean, everyone who's producing food, they're using electricity, they have the transport costs, you have fuel taking a huge part on a food, because about 90% of our grain is transported by road, and even when it's fruit going on into distribution, you have fuel taking a knock in there. So those are some of the things that to some extent we do overlook when you're looking at food.
Wandile, we've got a graphic here. We've put together a comparison between food prices in rural areas and food prices in urban areas. And what we've come up is quite a shock. Something like Ceylon tea, for instance. Right now, if we look at our graphic, Ceylon tea sits at in rural food price at 23.29 for a packet of 62 grams. And in the urban centres, that's at 12.82. That's almost double the price. Why do we see that kind of discrepancy?
No, I mean, there are certain things that led to the discrepancy. The demand gets to be one of the things that determines the price, as well as the transport costs. If you see in the rural areas, having seen then the prices are relatively cheaper than what you see in the urban areas, then that speaks on to your demand level that in there. And also, it would be great to do comparison for relative particular similar products. If you're looking on, for example, at a maize mill, not to look roughly at the maize mill, but look at the brand, and then in that way you'll be able to get a clear picture. But demand does determine that does play on in some of those discrepancies that you're seeing on those prices.
Now, Wandile, during a period of drought like we have now, farmers slaughter many more animals, but the price of red meat goes up. Is that because of that 9-month lag that you're talking about? How does that work?
No, I mean, the prices of red meat haven't really gone up that much. I mean, your previous speaker did say that if you're looking on, you break down the whole food basket inflation in there, you realize that meat price, as per the September figure, has only gone up by 5%, while everything else has gone up by double digit. And what has caused that is, again, the structural adjustment, because meat prices remained relatively cheaper when you're looking on across all products. Then we saw the demand and the buying power really playing on in that, which is why we saw meat prices increasing just at that amount. But as we go forward now in the next year, we think that, as far as the weather conditions start to improve, you will see farmers really trying on to rebuild their stocks. And now they will slaughter, in a normal year, they slaughter 5,000 cattle a week. Now they were slaughtering 16,500. If they go back to that rate, or they go a little bit below that, that's where you'll actually see the real implication of the meat. And I think that when you go to 2017 or so, meat is going to be the only game in town when you're looking on in food inflation, mainly because it constitutes roughly 30% within that food basket. So that's one of the one of the threats as you go forward on the upward risk side. But the thing that really kept the meat prices relatively up is the structural demand in there.
And finally, just a quick word of advice to consumers heading into festive season. What's the do's and don'ts, you reckon?
No, I mean, when you're going on in the festive season, things are not going to be very different from what we're seeing now. You're still going to hit on some higher prices. The only thing that one can really save themselves is to buy on bulk on many things that they pretty much need. And I think in that way, they'll be able to thrive relatively well. But going on into next year, second quarter, I think they pretty much, things are going to get better.
Wandile, thank you for joining us today. That's Wandile Sihlobo coming to you live from Pretoria. He's from the Agricultural Business Chamber, telling us that, well, bite the bullet now, it's going to get better, he says. Of course, here in Johannesburg, emergency services, they're still assisting residents in Ennerdale, south of the city, where, quite a few of them have been displaced after a tornado hit the area there. Lots of you tweeting in with regards to it. Let's have a look at some of your tweets. We saw the pictures of the tornado. Rene, our very own Rene Vest, says, so the tornado that struck Ennerdale was only 39 minutes from my house. And yeah, I was worrying about hail. May residents get all the needed help, she says. Yeah, from the south, the deep south. Gentle Orchid says, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? Tornado in Ennerdale last night? What's happening in South Africa? Yes, it's not happening in South Africa, my dear. It's everywhere in the world. It's called weather. Miss Yetta says, I think it's time for SA Weather Service to have a tornado watch and priority emergency warning on TV and radio. Now, that is a smart one there, Miss Yetta. I'll talk to Tsietse Monari about that. This connection says, I swear, South Africa is slowly becoming a first world country. We've had earthquakes and now a tornado. All that's left is a terrorist attack. No, man. How can you be calling for a terrorist attack?
No, we don't want
Come
those.
now. Here you see some of the pictures of the aftermath. There you see that picture of that tornado forming in Ennerdale, south of Johannesburg. It's an incredible picture as you see it funneling down the over Kendall's left shoulder, that tornado. Well, you never thought you would see that kind of thing here in South Africa, but I never thought that I'd see 3 series wins in Australia in a row. Not in my lifetime. Never thought I'd see that, Kendall.
No, in fact, it's only the 3rd time that any nation has ever done it. With the West Indies, with England.
The great West Indies team of the 1980s.
That is correct. And then 100 years earlier,
100 years? You go back that far?
100 years earlier, in 1888 to 1884 to 1888, that England had done it. And South Africa has just done it.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Kendall was just out of school when that happened, of course. Now,
not at all.
This is a wonderful, wonderful performance. Now, of course, odds on to sweep it, whitewash Australia in Australia, under lights in Adelaide. Isn't that going to be an occasion?
With the pink ball. We've all been waiting for this pink ball test.
Yes.
We thought it was going to be interesting, but we didn't know that the precursor to it would be a 2-0 series win by South Africa on the back of a 5-0 ODI series.
Drubbing, I tell you. But now, of course, we're asking the viewers about Faf. I want to ask you about Faf because, you know, I've met this guy outside of cricket.
Yes.
I really like him. He's a level-headed, humble man, and just you can see the influence that he's having on the team.
Yeah.
It speaks for itself.
You know what? I read a little bit about Faf. I haven't met the man. I haven't had the opportunity to, but I read that he's been a leader since he was in school.
Yes.
That
he was AB's captain.
Correct. He's a natural-born leader, and he walked into the T20 role, and he's taken all of that he had inside of him and translating it to actually a fantastic performance by the Proteas. And he's actually relishing this job. You can see, you know, we had a few captains before him, after Graham Smith, and there's a big difference. He's going
to be right up there with the great captains of the modern era. Some people say Graham Smith, others will mention Hansi Cronje, of course, and the like. I'm saying, well, he should captain AB once again. Let's hope AB can come back and contribute to this team.
Yep.
I say AB should open the batting. What do you say?
I think AB should be at number 3. I think I don't agree. I don't think that AB should be opening the batting.
He started out as an opening batsman.
I do know that, but I think AB destroys at number 3.
Yeah, but that's what we should do at the top of the order. Put in our best player and destroy the attacks like the great Australian teams of years gone by.
I suppose. You know, there is an argument for that, and I think it's a really nice headache, and really nice selection headache for Russell Domingo and co. I'm not going to put my head on the block and say, yeah, no, he should open or not, but I do think that it's something good that South Africa is in such a good position right now, so soon after we thought they were on their decline.
Well, to think about it, a month ago they wanted Russell Domingo to be fired. Neil McKenzie, the batting coach, was questioned. Charles Lagerfeld was questioned. And right now, these guys are on top of the world. Kudos to Neil McKenzie. I'd like to give Neil McKenzie some big ups. You can see the way that the young players, the batters, you know, his batting coach, the likes of Temba Bavuma is playing, the Quinton is playing. So big ups to Neil McKenzie. He doesn't get a lot of props in the media. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have more news at the top of the hour. See you then.
I don't know if I'm going to succeed, but I want you to tell us, who are these 3 people that you have opened corruption charges against at the Brooklyn police station? How senior are they?
Very.
Are these people who are serving in the political office of the executive mayor?
There was, yes.
Which means they are no longer working for the city now.
Well, I can tell you that one of them is actually finding themselves employed in another municipality.
You are not going to tell us the names?
No, you're not going to get names from me.
Are people still getting free Wi-Fi in Tshwane?
People are still getting free Wi-Fi, and we will actually make it one of the basic services that our residents will get.
But it's special for us to win a series 2-0 with 1 to play. We've had a good 2 or 3 months as a team, and I'm just really proud of the way the team is moving forward. We're challenging each other. We want to go to places where it's almost unlikely to go, and you can see that's happening.
Yeah, very good morning to you. It's just gone 10 o'clock here in the Newsroom studio. We are very happy to report, of course, that South Africa have done the unthinkable almost, winning a 3rd series in a row down in Australia. Just a generation ago, that would have been only a pipe dream.
100%. In fact, when we left for Australia, the Australians were talking about how they're going to get their revenge and their vengeance on that whitewash we exacted on them. But you know what? Totally different story with the Proteas, gritty, resilient, and innovative, and killing them, demolishing them. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just ran through them again this morning, bowled them out for 161. One have to say, under fantastic leadership, well led by Faf du Plessis. The guy who's impressed me the most is Faf du Plessis, and that's why we're asking you the question today.
And that question is, let us know what you think about, should Faf du Plessis be made the captain, the permanent captain of the Proteas?
Yeah, let's have a look at the tweets that are coming in with regards to Faf. What are people saying about Faf right now? This one from Lechasa, he says, Newsroom, sometimes if you look at the prices, you will realize daylight robbery. I think he's talking about the food prices. This is about the food prices, unfortunately.
You know what, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to be getting those answers.
Yeah, we'll get that. Let's go. Let's deal with this now, because we're running a poll with regards to food prices now. The poll, the question we ask you, of course, we've been dealing with food prices throughout the first hour. We ask you, is the food price spiraling out of control, Kendall? 112 votes in right now.
And 96%, almost the overwhelming majority. They say 96% saying yes, it is spiraling out of control, and no. I don't know which 4% these are that are saying no, the food prices are not.
Yeah, no, those are the ones that shop at Woolies. They don't mind. They don't mind the food prices being as difficult as it is. But that's where we are right now. Keep your tweets coming. We'll put that, the Faf du Plessis tweets, we just missed it. We'll put it up a little bit later in the show. But time now for us to take a look at the morning's top news. The Hawks confirms that they are investigating allegations linking State Security Minister David Matlobo to a rhino poaching syndicate. The trial of Fees Must Fall leader and Wits student Ncebo Dlamini is expected to kick off shortly. More than 50 houses have reportedly been damaged after a tornado ripped through Ennerdale, south of Johannesburg, last night. That's top headlines right now. Let's go over to Kendall to take a look at what's in the sports.
Evan, thank you very much. It's a massive day for South African sporting fans, especially if you love cricket. A fantastic result down under. And that's exactly why we start our headlines with this today.
24 overs. That could be it. Yes, it is. South Africa have wrapped up the second test match. Kyle Abbott picks up his 6th wicket.
The Proteas win big in Australia by an innings and 80 runs, with Kyle Abbott, the destroyer-in-chief, taking 6 Aussie scalps in a rare series win down under. Andy Murray gets his reign as the newly crowned world #1 off to the perfect start as he blasts Marin Cilic in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, he said Mark Murray. Just have to allow the 6-3, 6-2.
And Bafana face off against neighbours Mozambique in an international friendly at the Estadio Nacional do Simpeto in Maputo tonight. All this and more will be covering for you at about 10:40. Be sure to stick around for it, but for now, be sure to stay with Eben as he brings you the news.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kendall. As he says, he'll be back a little bit later with more sports. But let's get back to the top story on SABC News right now. State Security Minister David Mahlobo says he's appalled by the allegations of Chinese national Guan Jingguan that links him to a rhino poaching syndicate. Mahlobo says he's exploring legal options to clear his name.
The trafficker bragged about his political connections.
This is the television documentary that's raised eyebrows. The man seen here, a Mbombela spa owner and self-confessed rhino trafficker. In this undercover investigation, he brags about his alleged close relationship with the State Security Minister David Mahlobo. Guan Jingguan claims that Mahlobo visited his massage parlor every week, or at least twice a month, and that he was even a guest at his home. But the State Security Minister says this is far from the truth.
I'm not a friend of the person. The person does not say I'm a friend. The person says he knows me very well and how I visit the spa treatment. Therefore, this thing about friendship that is becoming a big issue international and local is a fallacy, and it seeks to defame me. Have I ever gone to their house? I've never been to the man's house. I don't even know where his house is.
He says allegations that he is linked to rhino poaching are unfounded and slanderous. The State Security Minister says he is appalled by the allegations and has instructed the Mpumalanga Provincial Police Commissioner to investigate them. He's also called for swift action against the self-confessed rhino trafficker.
I'm not going to respond in terms of our investigations, but what I can tell you is that every matter that is brought before the police is definitely going to receive the necessary attention.
Over 700 rhino were killed between January and August this year, and there are fears that if the scourge continues, the rhino could be extinct by the year 2020. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Pretoria.
Now, in turn, the Hawks have confirmed to us here at SABC News that they are investigating allegations linking State Security Minister David Mahlobo to a rhino poaching syndicate. The allegations, of course, have been made in that documentary by television network Al Jazeera. In it, the Chinese businessman Guan Jingguan boasts about his links to Mahlobo, adding that he bribes justice and immigration officials. The minister says he's ready to face an investigation. The Hawks say they will look at every avenue, and then once they are done, they will take the docket to the MPA for a decision. A little bit earlier, we were joined on the line by Hawks spokesperson Angwani Mulahutsi, who confirmed that they are investigating the minister as well as the Chinese businessman Guan Jingguan in that clip.
What we can confirm, I think the public needs to understand as well that the main suspect in that DVD, we have been investigating him for some time. We are aware of his shenanigans in this country. There's a project that we have already registered looking into the issues of rhino poaching in this country, and he was one of the main suspects that we have identified. So this is not something new. Mr. Guan has been on our radar for a long time. There are a lot of people that have been arrested, out of our investigation. So this documentary, I think as it played on Sunday, people thought this was a new thing. Yes, they would know that from their own point of view, it's new, but from our own point of view, it's something that we've been looking for some time. And we have a project that we are running, and we are hoping that our members sooner or later will be able to finalize this project, because it has been running for some time.
Now, the documentary reported widely on the widespread rhino poaching in the Kruger National Park, and of course associate with that what is happening there. Are you perhaps also looking into that, or are you only investigating the link between the State Minister David Mashlobo and the rhino syndicate?
No, look, we have an endangered species unit within the Hawks that deals with issues of rhino poaching and other endangered species, the protected endangered species in this country. So it's an ongoing investigation. Mr. Guan is one of those people that we have been looking at. You would know that there's a lot of arrests that we have made, including at the airport when people wanted to fly off the country. We have had an incident or a huge operation here in Pretoria where we managed to confiscate about 100 rhino horns. So these are projects that we have registered. So the matter between Mr. Guan and the Minister of Mr. Msobo, it's something separate because these are allegations that have been made against him. So we have to obviously get a statement from him. His wife was also mentioned, so those are the things that we look at. And then once we are done with that investigation, we will then take it to the NPA for a decision.
Well, we've got news just in. Former Wits SRC President Nabo Dlamini's trial has now been postponed till June of 2017. The Wits University SRC says it hopes that the charges against the Fees Must Fall leader will be dropped altogether. Nabo Dlamini is facing charges of theft, assault, public violence and malicious damage to property following violent students' protests. Dlamini spent 3 weeks in jail before being granted bail of 2,000 Rand by the High Court here in Johannesburg. The Wits SRC president says students will be in court to offer him support then. Now, the Constitutional Court has dismissed a court application by the Democratic Alliance to declare a notice by South Africa to leave the International Criminal Court unconstitutional. The party had approached the courts to have the government's decision to withdraw from the ICC set aside. Justice Minister Michael Masuta said on Friday that the government's reason for removing itself as signatories of the Rome Statute was due to a conflict between its obligations to the African Union to grant its heads of states immunity. The announcement by South Africa to quit the Hague-based court echoed that of many other African countries which have accused the court of bias towards African leaders in particular. Now, in another court matter in the news from further afield, the Gambia had now reportedly given notice that it still intends to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. The Gambia will be the third African country to withdraw from the body officially after South Africa and Burundi. The Gambian Information Ministry says the country is leaving because it believes the ICC is being used to persecute Africans. South Africa and Burundi both notified the United Nations in October of their withdrawal from the court, which will take effect in 1 year's time. The ICC's current chief prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, is Gambian and was an advisor to Gambian President Yahya Jammeh in the early years of his rule after he seized power in a coup in 1994. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has expressed regret that South Africa, Burundi and the Gambia are now leaving the ICC and said it could send a wrong message on these countries' commitment to justice. Back home, EFF leader Julius Malema remains defiant. He's again called on his supporters to go out and occupy land. This after he appeared briefly at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court yesterday, calling on people to commit trespassing. The case has been postponed until the 5th of June next year, pending the outcome of his High Court application. He wants the court to declare the Riotous Assemblies Act of 1956 used to charge him unconstitutional.
the land wherever you choose to occupy the land. It's not Malema, it's the Freedom Charter.
Yet again, it is remarks like these which have landed Julius Malema in hot water with law enforcers. However, it resonates with his supporters.
I'm happy. I don't know what I can do, jump or what, I don't know.
I feel proud of our leader because the land is exactly what we want.
Even ANC supporters are singing from the same hymn book.
As black people, we must unite and fight together. Together we will conquer. Together we will complete the revolution. Because 1994 delayed the revolution. We have been in a honeymoon of a so-called freedom. The struggle continues.
Malema maintains that the law used to prosecute him is unconstitutional.
When we live here, you see any beautiful piece of land. You like it, occupy it. It belongs to you. It is your land.
The complainant in this case, AfriForum, says Malema must face the consequences of his actions.
Julius Malema seems to be hiding behind a so-called Apartheid Act, but you can't just throw out the whole act. You have to look at specific sections of that. And the one section where it states that you are not allowed to incite people to commit a crime, that is not an undemocratic section.
The constitutionality of the act will be heard next year. It could, however, only be heard after June. Until then, the prosecuting teams in both Newcastle and Bloemfontein cannot continue. Aldrin St-Pierre, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Now, the ad hoc committee on the SABC board is currently sitting in Parliament to elect a chairperson. The committee was established to probe the SABC board's fitness to hold office. Meanwhile, 2 more SABC board members have resigned, leaving the chairperson, Mulaeni Maguve, the only non-executive member. Nomvuyo Makaza and Aaron Tizumba tendered their resignations at the weekend. This emerged as the DA filed an application in the Western Cape High Court in Cape Town. The party is asking that the SABC head of corporate affairs, Hlaudi Mutsuneng, not be allowed to hold any position within the public broadcaster, pending a review of the public protector's findings against him in a 2014 report. Let us now cross to Parliament for these proceedings as it's happening right now. Should make for an interesting watch. Well, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for matters to proceed in Parliament. Let's just take a quick look, of course, at what we are looking here at SABC Newsroom today. We've been running a poll, of course, talking about food prices here in South Africa and why food prices are, well, they seem to go up, but they never seem to come down, do they? So we've asked you the question, is the price of food spiraling out of control? And there we've got 112 votes up on food price. Overwhelming yes. Yes, Abantu Balambile, Baba. The people are hungry. And you can see that it's unanimous that people feel the price of food is spiraling out of control and something needs to be done.
His report when governance fails. She was intricately involved in various issues that have taken place at the SABC. So I'm not quite sure why she isn't included in the list when we agreed that she must. So can she please be put back on that list? And then in terms of the Office of the Public Protector, we had agreed that the Public Protector who'd written the report, which is now the former Public Protector, must be included as in the list of witnesses. Why is it now Advocate Kanyane and Mr. Rodney Matabuche? Who are they and why them instead of the former Public Protector or the current Public Protector? Who are they? And then in terms of former board members, the He has just issued a statement accepting the resignation of the 2 board members, Nomvuyo Mhlakaza and Aaron Chizumba, which means that the presidency, who appoints the board members, has received that notice. So can we please include them too in the interests of process with the former board members? Thanks, Jay.
Honourable Chauke? No, I think I'm covered on
on the shareholder chair, it's very important that in our list we must have the minister who's the accounting, political accounting person. On the issue of the public protector, I'm not sure, Chair, that we deal with names or we just deal with the office directly, that they sort of second the relevant people, because this is quite high level. You may even want to deal with it at the level of the public protector herself. As you know, when you deal with these matters of the public protector, I think they were done at that level. Maybe we may want to escalate it rather than dealing with individual. They give an opportunity to the office to present itself at that level. But mostly, where I'm covered is the issue of the political head of the shareholder. It's very important that we have to find a way. At the end of the hearing, we'll have to close with that particular, what's called, to clarify a number of things that need to be clarified. Meaning that, I don't want to go to the detail, but I want to support that part.
Thank you, Honourable Ndozi.
Thanks. I wanted to add Sophie Mokoena. I wanted to propose that we add Sophie Mokoena.
Why? I'm chairing the meeting. Okay. I'm chairing the meeting. Is that it? All right. Members, over and above the list that we have here, the proposals that we have is that, of course, the company secretary, the minister, or shareholder, let's put it that way, because it's the office, it's the shareholder, it's the office of the public protector, it is the two board members that have just resigned, and it is Ms. Sophie Mokoena. Those are the proposals that are being put on the table. Let's start with Makosi first, then we come to you. We're not going to take too much time on this one, then we wrap it up. I'm assuming, honourable members, that all the other names, that because we're not raising them, we are comfortable with them. So when we talk on the whole list so that we at least know. But let's start with you, ma'am.
It's not that I'm not comfortable with the inclusion of Sophie Mokoena. I just want to understand why is she particularly important for this, because there are so many people that we could involve, that we can include. Probably Mr. Ndlovu has some rationale behind it.
Okay, we'll get to that one. Any other contribution than that one? If that's it, we'll come to you, sir. No, we'll come to you when we get to respond to it. No. Oh no. Oh, no, I'll come to you. Okay, fine. Who was the next speaker? I beg your pardon. Mr. Chauke.
Yeah, no, the same again, Chair. The high-level nature of the other committee, I'm going to propose that we invite the Auditor General rather than the individuals that are there. They will come and beef him up, but we must have the Auditor General himself, as much as we have done with the Public Protector. Thanks, Chair.
Loliwe.
Chair, thanks. I wanted to plead with Honourable Chauke that let's live with the identified people in the office of the public protector rather than calling the public protector.
Honourable Ndozi, you didn't want to respond. Is that
Chair, I had a different question. If you want me to respond, I can do that. Yeah, does it mean, I just want to understand what it means to say the highlighted people have been interviewed by a previous committee. What does that mean? Does it mean we can't talk to them again? Is that what you're saying? So I can raise an objection if needs be.
I really don't want us to get into a dialogue. Let us say these were, when we say interviewed, we're talking about the evidence leaders at that time. All these people, once we've agreed on the list, everybody that is agreed to on this list will appear before this committee. These are just people that have been interviewed in the process leading up to where we're at. So I hope that clarifies that one. I'll come to you, Honourable Waters, because I really don't want us to have a debating session here. Is it okay, honourable members, and you can rule me out of order if it's out of order, is it okay that we draft a letter to the head of the institution. And the institution will then decide who is the most relevant person, because the institution's reputation will be on the line if they send somebody that is incompetent to answer our questions. Is that okay? In other words, ask the public protector that we're dealing with this report, we need some representation. Ask the AG that we're dealing with your reports, we need some reputation. I just don't want to get into saying call Vincent and call John. Are we comfortable with that approach at least? Waters?
Chair, I support what you've just said, but I would like to emphasise the necessity of inviting the previous public protector to the hearing, simply because, well, of the importance of the issue that's before us, but also the fact that she was the author of the report when governance and ethics fell, and I do believe that it is a necessity that she comes before us.
Let's take, and I'm going to take a ruling after this, but we'll take Ndlozi. We want to finalize not the victims, I beg your pardon, the witnesses list. We'll start with you. We'll start with you, Honourable Ndlozi. We'll go to the professor. We will go to Chauke.
I don't know how ad hoc committees work. You just said you're going to take a ruling. My view is that you can't do that.
No, let me
resolution rather.
No, let me. No. What I wanted to say is, let us not debate it for debating's sake. At some point, we must take a decision as a collective.
No. Advocate Tulima Donzala must come. She's the author. She understands. We shouldn't be scared of allowing as much information and key experts to come and share with us so that we take a very informed decision. Because when we've concluded the work on the sidelines, if experts that have not been invited speak against us, will appear clownish. So let's invite her, I agree. And we must listen to her and engage the report that she wrote, which is going to be important here. I always get a sense that people are, these days, very reluctant to hear Advocate Tulima Donzala. This institution of Parliament, which was involved in her appointment, must be able to appreciate her comment and her view on that. So I am absolutely for the author of the report coming, the former public protector. The second thing is, I wanted to indicate, Sophie Mokoena is probably the most senior journalist in the SABC. And she's the acting political editor at the moment. So we want to hear as well what she has to say. All the list of these journalists that are here, all of them probably found her at the SABC and have probably been led by her. So that's the reasons, the supporting reasons. So I wanted to make those 2 points. Thank you.
Professor?
No, Chair, I think I'm covered because I wanted to emphasize the point that we need the public protector herself. And also I agree with you that with regard to critical offices, we'll just have to write to the office and they give us the relevant person. Thank you.
Honourable Chauke, and then...
No, Chair, we'll have to agree with regards to the issue of the Office of the Public Protector that we want to invite and the capacity in that office. Now, the issue that the colleagues are raising, it may be an important issue, Chair, but I think we must not find ourselves again creating another parallel processes when we have the current public protector in place and then invite. In fact, I even say, colleagues are even saying public protector Tulima Donzala, rather say former, so that it's very clearly noted again. Maybe we have to deal with that part, Chair, so that we don't find ourselves having to create a particular, it's a very important person, by the way, who can help us a lot if we need that. But I think let us just try and deal with that in a way that it does not undermine the current office of the public protector. So I want us, let us process it. Let it not be a final thing that we sort of agree now. Let's process it as a committee. Then I think we can be able to strike a balance there. I understand the line in which colleagues are coming with, but it's important that let us not make a conclusion on it now. Let's process it, meaning that we look at the legalities and all of that of all of those issues, because the fact is that she has just finished her term, and we know that she's the author of the report. but I want us to really apply our mind properly. Then we can come back. There's nothing wrong. If that we agreed upon and the lines are clearly defined on her role, what is going to be her role, how does she represent that office, does not, it's important that we clarify those things. Then it will be okay, because we'll need, as much as possible, anyone to come in and to appear before the committee. Nothing stops the committee, in fact, to invite anyone. So, but I'm saying that let us not find ourselves having to create unnecessary tension in a very volatile situation. I'll behave. But again, I've missed the point that Honorable Ndlozi raised. I wanted to ask him to take with you in confidence on the issue of Sophie Mokoena, if there was any other thing. But I would have missed the point that he, in fact, they already has made a comment on why Sophie Mokoena must be invited. Some of the issues, I think we may not want to blow them out. In fact, if you look at the current situation, Chair, where there's so much intimidation of journalists and all of that, I think it's important that even the men and we should deal with this list. We deal with it in a way that it does not put people's life at danger, because if it is now known that so-and-so is going to be appearing in the committee to give evidence, it may create a problem because already we're dealing with the problem. So we have to, again, look at that particular area quite very serious moving forward. Thank you.
Honourable Khoza, Honourable Waters, and Honourable Ndlozi. And, all right, then it will be Khoza, Walters, Ndlozi, Vandama, and Killian.
Chair, I think it's important that as this ad hoc committee, as we start on a very on a note that is kind of positive, and we work as a team. And I certainly support the members that are saying we should include certain people. But I do think that it's going to be absolutely important that we clarify the process as was outlined by Honorable Chauke, so that we don't end up with a challenge. And especially when we are dealing with institutional reports, because those reports, you don't want to end up getting into that space, but it is important that we get the information from primary sources. I agree. I don't think there is any question around that.
Honourable Waters.
Chair, I would like to reiterate the fact that we should be calling the previous public protector to the before the ad hoc committee, and we should make a decision on that today. There's no point in deferring the matter. I don't see what the actual problem is, and I agree with the honourable member that we should be getting comment from the primary sources. The primary source here for the report, as the author of the report, is the former public protector. And I don't see what the problem is in inviting her to come and give evidence before the committee and for us to ask her questions. I really don't. I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill here.
No. Don't get into dialogues, you, Waters and Khoza. Honourable Ndlozi. Look. Yes, Honourable Ndlozi, yeah. And then you'll be followed by Fandam.
Thanks, Chair. The Honourable Chauke must help us because he's saying we must defer the matter of the former public protector, but he's not substantiating. He says there might be problems, but he's not saying what those problems are. He may say there might be tensions. He doesn't say between who. So we're now having to speculate together with him. He's not doing his job. He should come, and when he opens his mouth, allow all of us to help him or help us. Now, the response that Honorable Khoza gives, you can hear it's in anticipation. You are going to have to work as a team. But in the team, please, when you speak clearly. Don't put us in a situation where we have to do guesswork. We think the former public protector must come, one, because she's the author of the report. We don't perceive of any problems. And you must, if you disagree, state why. Don't say, no, let us apply our minds. We did not leave our minds at home. Our minds are here. We've applied them. So I think Honorable Chauke must rise to the occasion of the competence that is already demonstrated here by stating clearly, Chairperson. I think you should, in the process as well, push us so that we don't circumcirculate. When a person is speaking, push them to make the point as clear as possible, to save the day, to save the time, but also for that type of competency that I think I'm already sensing you are pushing us to. Finally, I also did not understand his response to the name of Sophie Mokoena. Now that people are going to be known, Sophie Mokoena has the right to say, I'm scared, I don't want to appear. As a journalist and other journalists that are here. What is the real thing that Honorable Chauke is saying yet again on the name of Sophie Mokoena? I'm stating the fact. She's the most senior journalist. She's a political editor at the moment. What more do you want? If you disagree, help us with facts. Please, Chairperson, that is my appeal, so that we're able to deal. Otherwise, I want to restate that I think we should interview Advocate Thuli Madonsela because she authored the report. And then two, I think we must interview Sophie Mokoena as part of the journalists that have already been identified here. We must add her in, and I've substantiated why. If Honorable Chauke feels different, can he please give us reasons?
I'm going to knock all of you. No, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to appeal to all members that really we work as a team, and it doesn't mean that we don't have to disagree with each other across, whether it's party lines or even individual lines, but let us try and keep this ship together, because I think at the end of the day, it is about Parliament re-exerting its authority. Not individual parties, not point scoring. It's about Parliament reasserting its authority. So I'm going to keep that line of discipline. Those that want to argue politically, we will really appeal to you that let's put Parliament first. Honourable Van Dam.
Thanks, Chair. Covered about the former public protector. We need information from primary sources. We're dealing with big problems at the SABC. We cannot have someone who'll come and give us hearsay information. We need the former public protector. And then can I also raise the matter of security? We said we'd discuss that when we were discussing the witness list. Can we...
Ma'am Van Dam, sorry, I'm sorry to do this to you. Can we just finish the list first? Just in terms of the names, because that will then apply to any and everybody that's on that list. So you'll be the first one to talk when it comes to that one. If we just finalize the names, because it should be security for everybody that might be in that situation as opposed to only one or two. So you will be the first one. I've not left that point out. Is there anything else other than the security now? Killian.
Thank you, Chair. I think what we have is we have the addition of the Minister, the Company Secretary, and Sophie Mokoena, if she's available, plus the two board members who've just resigned. And I would also like to add the Advocate Thuli Madonsela in her capacity as the former and the author of the report. But that does not replace the Office of the Public Protector. If we can agree to that, then I think that is moving forward. Thank you.
Honourable Chauke, and you'll be the last one, Honourable Khoza.
I'm opening my mouth again, Chair. I was not being personal, by the way. I thought that we then have to deal with it via that office, rather than just having an invite without communicating with the Office of the Public Protector. The current, not even the current, the Office of the Public Protector. In our invitation, Chair, as we do that, I think we should sort of state clearly that we are inviting the office and we invite the previous public protectors, the member has put it. That's my point. In fact, I was not much differing to a point that I said we can invite anyone that we want to invite, but I think we must be very clear, all of us. If members have clarified that part, then I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Honourable Khoza.
Chair, I just wanted to reiterate what we've said. I think it's very important for all members to remember that this process is primarily about the restoration of public confidence, especially in SOEs and in public companies such as SABC. And I think if we move from that premise, then we are going to be able to achieve the desired results that everyone at home is looking at, is expecting from this process.
All right. The list before you, before the additions, is accepted. As nobody has contested any of those names. Yes. We also all agreed that we will add the current company secretary. We all agreed that we will add the minister. There was discussion around the name of Sophie, and I see no problem. Sophie Mokoena, Miss Sophie Mokoena. I see no problem in that respect. There was a request, not a request, of course, a suggestion on the name of Advocate Thuli Madonsela. Members, I'm looking at our terms of reference, and you know, part of our terms of reference actually says, in response to the Public Protector's report when governance fails. Now, members are saying Advocate Madonsela was the buck stopped with her, let's put it that way, even if she didn't write the physical report. But we are also saying that we are going to address a letter to the Public Protector for the office to also be there. Can I appeal to members that we accept it as such? In other words, the Public Protector will send somebody, and there shouldn't be a difficulty in Advocate Madonsela, because it's not about the Public Protector. Let me also remind everybody here that our work is not about the Public Protector. It's about at least 6 aspects of it. This is only about one aspect of it. It's only about one aspect. We'll deal with it in half an hour, out of the way, because it's about evidence gathering. Nobody's going to come here and say, well, it's evidence gathering. That evidence will still be processed by all of us. The final point I want to make, members, is that members here indicated the urgency of this matter. And I don't want to then stop relevant information. But we can't have a non-ending list of witnesses and then expect that we finish timeously. So whilst we're doing all this, just bear in mind that the number of witnesses have a direct impact in terms of when we finish our report. So I want to first put it on the table that we are adding just those 4 names. The 4 names are the company secretary, it's the minister, it is Ms. Sophie Mokoena, and it's Advocate Thuli Madonsela. Yes, we have. I thought we had agreed earlier on the 2 board members that had resigned. No, the board members had always been on our list previously. Yes, I'm saying when we started this process, there were 3, which included these 2. Is there any opposition to my proposal for that to be our final? And of course, the final thing that I want to say, honourable members, is that our first is to invite them. They have the right to say we don't want to participate. Then we'll come back and say we've invited so-and-so, they don't, or they didn't want to participate, how do we take it forward? So this list, even in itself, is not a final list, but we'll come back and say so many people have declined, and then Parliament has the right to decide how you take it forward if we think so. But this will be our original list. Is that okay?
Just make sure your invitations.
I'm always polite, Honourable, always polite. So that deals with, I'm trying to look for my agenda, that deals then with the witness list. Can we talk then, Honourable members, because members wanted to raise it. How do we deal with intimidation of witnesses? It might be these 4 or these 8 today. It could be another 7 or 8 come next weekend. So that's why I didn't want to limit it to these. I'm saying we're going through a process. We could end up with 30 witnesses. The question is, what is this committee's role? And even if we don't have an active role to play, what recommendations can we make to who, so that this process is not discredited, sabotaged, or otherwise? What is the role of this committee? Because certainly we do not have the power to do physical protection ourselves. So let's start from that point. Ours would be to make recommendations to whatever the case might be. So that's what I want to hear from members, seeing that members brought it up earlier on. Anybody wants to talk on that subject? And I had agreed that Ms. Van Dam will be the first one because she had raised it. Chauke, you'll be the second one. And Honorable Ndlozi, you'll be the third one. Ms. Van Dam.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I think you've covered me. Firstly, the SABC 8, there's reports that the homes have been broken into, they're being shot at. So I think they must definitely be provided security, in addition to the former board members and the former SABC staffers that we have on the witness list. We're dealing with people with mafia tendencies, and we must make sure our witnesses are protected.
No, that's fine. When you contribute Chauke and Ndlozi, you must tell us the how, so that we can debate the how. Because really, it's very important. It's an important matter. Just to say that somebody must protect Vincent, you're not helping anybody. Because as I said, those of us that are taking this decision can't protect Vincent. So if you can come with the how, I'll come back to you on the how, ma'am. Let's take Chauke and Ndlozi, and then just to propose the how, then let us take it from there.
Chair, my proposal, obvious, is that I think there's an urgent need that we should engage with subs as quickly as possible, as urgent as possible as this committee. Firstly, we'll deal with the process that we are engaging in, which is going to put witness very vulnerable under attack. But secondly, again, is that currently the number of these journalists are being harassed and intimidated. And I think it's in our best interest, Chair, that we not only deal with them appearing in the committee and even outside the committee. So we'll have to, as a matter of urgent, maybe mandate yourself or maybe other members of this committee to immediately meet with subs, because it cannot be allowed that journalists are being intimidated and we don't hear anybody saying anything. They're on their own there, and we know that at some point they'll have to appear before this process. So we'll have to do that. We'll have to engage subs to provide security. But again, in the processing of the hearing, Chair, you may find a situation where a witness wants to present in camera. The committee must be able to apply for an arrangement within the rules that we apply for a closed meeting at some point if you have to have a witness that does not want to be seen publicly giving out information. So we'll have to assess as we deal with our witnesses and look at those that are prepared to do it in camera and give them the necessary security so that they're able to give information. But we need to have subs as a matter of agent on board to help us deal with this issue.
Honorable Ndlozi and then Van Dam.
I nearly said that we found the perfect job for those bouncers in Parliament. But the Speaker will disagree. Look, it's a simple matter of the SABS, really, as a point of departure. Witness protection. They've got that program, and I think that Honorable Chauke is correct, that the chairperson can then engage, I think, through the office of the Speaker for us to provide for us to request any witness protection for any witnesses that request it. Also, you can impose protection. But I think the matter of protection really is that we want to give South Africans a sense of confidence. The reason why people get scared is because often when they have reported, nothing happens. So we need to raise the bar here that in this case, really, we are going to be using their information to bring justice where there is no justice, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, I have confidence that majority of South Africans, do want to speak. So we must sort of give a sense to to those witnesses and to the entire process that it's going to be fair, but also it's going to be done in the interest of justice. That finally things that are wrong will be brought to book. Finally, again, Honorable Chauke is correct that those who would not want to speak in front of cameras, we must be able to afford them confidential interviews where they meet the committee without journalists if they don't want their names to be known, or if they want to submit evidence without their names being attached and anything, we'll decide whether the evidence is credible or not. So those are the categories so that their safety is constantly guaranteed. Otherwise, Chairperson, Honorable Chauke is really helping in this case. We have to speak to the SABC.
Thanks, Chair. Just to inform the committee, in my capacity as a member of the Communications Committee, I have already requested from the Acting National Police Commissioner that protection be provided to the SABC 8. I got feedback this morning that the matter is under consideration. And then can I just suggest that as a chairperson, then you also write an additional letter including the rest of our witnesses so that the matter is sped up. Thanks, Chair.
As we close it, Chair.
Loliwe.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I want to make a special appeal to Honorable Van Dam. She must not always refer to her committee. Remember what the board members said about members of the committee. We are not operating on terms of her committee. We are operating as this one. We don't want to lose credibility.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I think the point is made already that we'll have to refrain from that. I think we need to condemn this attack of journalists, Chair, as this committee. That it must be noted that, in fact, we have to condemn this thing. That whoever that is doing this intimidation is not doing it in the best of the country and the interest of South Africa. Somehow we'll have to either issue a statement and a very strong statement, because this is done deliberately to defocus and to intimidate people who must come before this committee. We have to condemn this thing. Find a way, Chair, that our voice from this committee is put there in the public. But the police must do their work, Chair. You cannot have a situation where people are being intimidated and police simply says that, no, we can't pick up, and not even a plan that says, this is how we're going to help you. That's why it's important that you must have that meeting with SABC as a matter of agent, Chair. Before the end of today, in fact, you have to make that contact. Thank you.
At the risk of being wrapped around the knuckles because I want to impose, I did say earlier on, knee-jerk reaction responses are really something that I don't live comfortably with. So people just after they've heard somebody raise their hand and say something else, you're going to be the absolute last Killian because nobody else has indicated they want to speak. If you decide you want to speak now, then it must be a knee-jerk reaction. So you'd be the absolute last Killian.
Chairperson, sometimes you listen, and then when formal recommendations are not put, then I just wanted clarity. So in this case, just two things. I agree with some of the members' recommendations on how we should deal with it. You could also meet with a portfolio committee on police chairperson. Once these journalists have opened cases, it would make it easier because then it is a formal process. It's part of the records of police, of SABC. Second point is just, if there is no objection to the consideration and to actually the proposal that we could meet in camera with some of the witnesses, if the members agree to that, would it be possible that we can proceed and give also the nod to you and the team that will be dealing with and engaging with the witnesses to say, if they are concerned about their safety, this committee would in fact consider to meet them in camera. That would make it easier, Chairperson, because in the end, we would like to get as much information as possible, and we would not like members of the public who have information, who are available to actually come before the committee, to be too scared and intimidated because of their lives and their livelihood. So I would like to just know if we have an in-principle agreement as a committee that we can proceed on that basis. Thank you, Chair.
I think there's an in-principle agreement subject to the powers that be that would come and say to us it's not how it's done in Parliament, but I think we've got a strong enough case to make an argument. I don't think that decision lies entirely with us, but I think in principle we agree that it's about making sure that everybody is free to come in and give evidence. Remember, we are not accusing anybody, it's about gathering evidence. So in principle, I think we will agree. We will look at the modalities and the requirements thereof. And I'm hoping then, honourable members, that concludes our list. It's probably now up to about 30 names if everybody agrees to come to this committee. So we will work on the basis of those names, and as and when people request that theirs must be in camera or only in writing or their names withheld, before we take a decision on the table, we'll come back to you and say to you, this is the request, and we'll get your blessings in that regard or otherwise. That's what will happen, honourable members. Then just on this point, when I say we, I'm talking about myself and those that are supporting the committee, are of the view that witnesses, this list that we're looking at, outside of the board members, are entitled for their legal representatives. In fact, everybody's entitled to have their legal representatives here. But we're not going to pay the bill for the legal representation. Secondly, when Vincent comes with his legal representative, he's not going to keep quiet and the legal representative talk on his behalf. He's going to talk to us. He can confer with his legal or her legal representative, but we will expect Vincent to talk to the committee. So those are the points that we've put, and I think you do have a letter, honourable members, from the lawyers asking those very questions. We are raising it because we intend responding formally to the lawyers, and our response will, if you give us the blessings, basically say that legal representation can be present, but it's not for the account of Parliament. Legal representative can be present, but they're not going to substitute the witness in terms of the major part of the engagement. So I thought we'd put that to you on the table, and if we have your agreement, we will try and draft a letter. I mean, most of the other parts of the letter, or responding to the other questions, we've already dealt with, and we've got an idea what you're agreeing to in terms of when will people be interviewed, when will they be notified. Those are part of the request, and that we seem to have discussed in our engagement so far, and we'll use that as a point when we respond to these members. Is that okay with honourable members in terms of how we deal with the legal advice that witnesses will get in terms of payment and their interaction? Any disagreement on that point? If not, I will draft a letter responding formally to the legal assistance of our potential witnesses in that vein, and then take it from there. And if there's anything that comes from there, we will share with you. I can, at this point, make an undertaking, honourable members, that there's nothing that we will do without sharing with you. The spade work we will do, but we will come back to you and say, we've done A, B, C, and D. Are you comfortable with it? So there's nothing that we will do without referring to you if we think it is necessary. And I'm hoping that then deals with all matters that members were expecting us to deal with thus far. If there's anything else, please raise it. Otherwise, we will then adjourn until the 29th of November, by when you would have received everything that you would require until then. But in the meantime, we will be doing work in the background. So if members want to add anything to assist us in ensuring that this process is able to stand the test of time, please raise it now. Ma'am Van Dam.
Thanks, Jay. Sorry to take us back. I just want to be clear about the program so that we can already start clearing our diaries. So we're going to meet from the 29th. Actually, I'd like to suggest that we meet from the 27th on the Monday and meet all the way through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, caucus day. We can request permission from our caucuses to be present for this important committee through weekends until we, such as time we've completed our work. I just want to be clear that's what's going to happen.
Any other comments? Can I just, even before you move on, it's really not in our hands. Some of this is about availability of witnesses. But that's why I said earlier on, the sentiment is that we will compress it as far as is possible. And that's why we want to write letters as soon as tomorrow to say this is what we want to do. There was also a suggestion that
there must be something. There has to be a place where young entrepreneurs can come, and get advice and interact with people that are knowledgeable.
Business for me, really, it's a calling. I do believe that it is a calling. Because I even remember, even when I was younger, when I was in grade 4, I sold silkworms. And they were quite popular, actually.
I was making a New York brand in South Africa. Being very proud of being a South African, I wanted to make it proudly South African.
For more inspiring stories, stay tuned to Bupilong every Friday.
But it's special for us to win a series 2-0 with one to play. We've had a good 2 or 3 months as a team, and I'm just really proud of the way the team is moving forward. We're challenging each other. We want to go to places where it's almost unlikely to go, and you can see that's happening.
Well, that's our focus for today on the Proteas and their fantastic win over Australia. The Proteas bowled out the home side for 161 before lunch on the 4th day. And the question that we pose to you today is, should Faf du Plessis now be named the permanent captain of the Proteas? You can let us know on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom as well as on our Facebook page. But we're also running a poll today. We're conducting that poll on the issue of food prices, and we ask the question, is food prices spiraling out of control? There's your poll up there for you. As you can see, 96% are saying yes, food prices are spiraling out of control. 112 votes thus far. 4% of you are saying no. You can still participate in it as we continue today. But right now, let's take a look at your news headlines. The Hawks confirmed that they are investigating allegations linking the State Security Minister, David Mashlobo, to a rhino poaching syndicate. Trial of the Peaceful 4 leader and Brit student, Tebo Dlamini, has been postponed to next year. And over 50 houses have reportedly been damaged after a tornado ripped through Ennerdale in the south of Johannesburg last night. Now, those are all your headlines, but before we get any further, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's coming up in the final hour in the sports news. Good morning.
Oh, Elvis, good morning to you. It actually really has been a very good morning. I woke up and, it was just really nice to see what was going on down in Hobart, Australia. And I'm sure you felt the same as well.
Exactly the same, yes. It was fantastic.
Yeah, no, phenomenal stuff. Good morning to you. This is exactly why we're starting our sports headline with this story.
24 overs. That could be it. Yes, it is. South Africa have wrapped up the second test match. Carl Abbott picks up his 6th wicket.
The Proteas win big in Australia by an innings and 80 runs, with Carl Abbott, the destroyer-in-chief, taking 6 Aussie scalps and a rare series win down under. Andy Murray gets his reign as the newly crowned world #1 off to the perfect start as he blasts Marin Cilic in front of his home crowd.
Game's at March Murray. Just have to allow the 6-3, 6-2.
Bafana face off against neighbours Mozambique in an international friendly at the Estadio Nacional de Zumpeto in Maputo tonight. All this and more I've got for you later on the Sports Bulletin about 11:35, 11:40 or so. For now, it is back to Elvis, who's got the news.
State Security Minister David Mashlobo says he's appalled by the allegations of the Chinese national Zhang Jingong that link him to a rhino poaching syndicate. Mashlobo says he is exploring legal options to clear his name.
Raised eyebrows. The man seen here, a Mbombela spa owner and self-confessed rhino trafficker. In this undercover investigation, he brags about his alleged close relationship with the State Security Minister David Mashlobo. Guan Jingguang claims that Mashlobo visited his massage parlor every week, or at least twice a month, and that he was even a guest at his home. But the State Security Minister says this is far from the truth.
I'm not a friend of the person. The person does not say I'm a friend. The person says he knows me very well and how I visit the spa treatment. Therefore, this thing about friendship that is becoming a big issue, international and local, is a fallacy, and it seeks to defame me. Have I ever gone to their house? I've never been to the man's house. I don't even know where his house is.
He says allegations that he is linked to rhino poaching are unfounded and slanderous. The State Security Minister says he is appalled by the allegations and has instructed the Mpumalanga Provincial Police Commissioner to investigate them. He's also called for swift action against the self-confessed rhino trafficker.
I'm not going to respond in terms of our investigations, but what I can tell you is that every matter that is brought before the police is definitely going to receive the necessary attention.
700 rhino were killed between January and August this year, and there are fears that if the scourge continues, the rhino could be extinct by the year 2020. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Pretoria.
Meanwhile, the Hawks have confirmed that they are investigating allegations linking the State Security Minister, that is, David Mashlobo, to the rhino poaching syndicate. The allegations have been made in a documentary by the television network Al Jazeera. In it, the Chinese businessman boasts about his links to Mashlobo, adding that he bribes justice and immigration officials. The minister says he's ready to face an investigation. The Hawks say they will look at every avenue, and then once they are done, they will take the docket to the NPA for a decision. For more on the story, we were joined earlier on the line by the Hawks spokesperson Angwani Malahutsi, who confirmed that they are investigating the minister and the Chinese businessman.
I think the public needs to understand as well that the main suspect in that DVD, we have been investigating him for some time. We are aware of his shenanigans in this country. There's a project that we have already registered looking into the issues of rhino poaching in this country, and he was one of the main suspects that we have identified. So this is not something new. Mr. Guan has been on our radar for a long time. There are a lot of people that have been arrested, out of our investigation. So this documentary, I think, as it played on Sunday, people thought this was a new thing. Yes, they would know that from their own point of view, it's new, but from our own point of view, it's something that we've been looking for some time. And we have a project that we are running, and we are hoping that our members sooner or later will be able to finalize this project, because it has been running for some time.
Now, the documentary reported widely on the widespread rhino poaching in the Kruger National Park. and of course associate with that what is happening there. Are you perhaps also looking into that, or are you only investigating the link between the State Minister David Mashlobo and the rhino syndicate?
No, look, we have an endangered species unit within the Hawks that deals with issues of rhino poaching and other endangered species, the protected endangered species in this country. So it's an ongoing investigation. Mr. Guan is one of those people that we have been looking at. You would know that there's a lot of arrests that we have made, including at the airport when people wanted to fly off the country. We have had an incident or a huge operation here in Pretoria where we managed to confiscate about 100 rhino horns. So these are projects that we have registered. So the matter between Mr. Guan and the Minister of Mr. Msobo, it's something separate because these are allegations that have been made against him. So we have to obviously get a statement from him. His wife was also mentioned, so those are the things that we look at. And then once we are done with that investigation, we will then take it to the NPA for a decision.
In news just in, former WITS SRC President Cebo Dlamini, his trial has been postponed to June 2017, that's next year. WITS University SRC says it hopes that the charges against the Fees Must Fall leader will be dropped. Cebo Dlamini is facing charges of theft, assault, public violence and malicious damage to property following violent student protests. Dlamini spent 3 weeks in jail before being granted bail of 2,000 rand by the High Court in Johannesburg. The WITS SRC president says that students will be in court to offer him support. The Constitutional Court has dismissed a court application by the Democratic Alliance to declare notice by South Africa to leave the International Criminal Court, the ICC, unconstitutional. The party had approached the courts to have the government's decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court set aside. Justice Minister Michael Masuta said on Friday that the government's reason for removing itself as signatories of the Rome Statute was due to a conflict between its obligations to the African Union to grant its heads of state immunity. The announcement by South Africa to quit the Hague-based court echoed that of many other African countries which have accused the court of bias towards African leaders in particular. In another court matter, in news from further afield, the Gambia has reportedly given notice that it intends to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. Gambia will be the third African country to withdraw from the body after South Africa and Burundi. The Gambian Information Ministry says the country is leaving because it believes the ICC is being used to persecute Africans. South Africa and Burundi both notified the United Nations in October of their withdrawal from the court, which will take effect in 1 year. The ICC's current chief prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, is Gambian and was an advisor to the Gambian president, Yahya Jammeh, in the early years of his rule after he seized power in a coup in 1994. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has expressed regret that South Africa, Burundi and Gambia are leaving the ICC and said that it could send a wrong message on these countries' commitment to justice. Back home, the EFF leader, Julius Malema, still defiant, he has again called on his supporters to occupy land. Now, this was after he appeared briefly at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court for calling on people to commit trespassing. The case has been postponed to June next year, pending the outcome of his High Court application. He wants the court to declare the Rioters' Assemblies Act of 1956 used to charge him unconstitutional.
Occupy the land wherever you choose to occupy the land. It's not Malema, it's the Freedom Charter.
He's doing it yet again. It is remarks like these which have landed Julius Malema in hot water with law enforcers. However, it resonates with his supporters.
I'm happy. I don't know what I can do, jump or what, I don't know.
I feel proud of our leader because the land is exactly what we want.
Even ANC supporters are singing from the same hymn book.
As black people, we must unite and fight together. Together we will conquer. Together we will complete the revolution. Because 1994 delayed the revolution. We have been in a honeymoon of a so-called freedom. The struggle continues.
Malema maintains that the law used to prosecute him is unconstitutional.
When we live here, you see any beautiful piece of land, you like it, occupy it, it belongs to you, it is your land.
The complainant in this case, AfriForum, says Malema must face the consequences of his actions.
Julius Malema seems to be hiding behind a so-called Apartheid Act, but you can't just throw out the whole act. You have to look at specific sections of that. And the one section where it states that you are not allowed to incite people to commit a crime, that is not an undemocratic section.
The constitutionality of the act will be heard next year. It could, however, only be heard after June. Until then, the prosecuting teams in both Newcastle and Bloemfontein cannot continue. Aldrin St-Pierre, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Well, the EFF's court appearance started with drama. His driver was arrested for allegedly speeding on the N1 near Parys from Johannesburg to Bloemfontein for his court appearance. The vehicle they were travelling in clocked 187 kilometers per hour. Now, Julius Malema had to drive himself to Bloemfontein.
Just moments before his arrival, there were conflicting reports that the EFF leader had been arrested. But it later emerged that it was Malema's driver that was caught on the wrong side of the law.
The car that was taking Mr. Malema to court was driving at 187, and it failed to stop when the traffic officers tried to stop them. We located it near Sedlersburg in N1, where we stopped it and checked who was the driver of the vehicle, and then we managed to arrest the driver that was driving that particular vehicle.
Malema reacted to the news of the arrest.
Once more, I defeated you because you are a group of clowns. You don't know how to strategize. You don't know how to catch the enemy. I'm always 2 steps ahead of you. Careful, we're taking over this country.
Malema's driver was released on free bail. Palesa Moeti, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Well, there's still no sign of the body of a 3-year-old girl who was swept away during flooding in Gauteng last week. This while the body of the pregnant 34-year-old Caroline Sitole was recovered near Linksfield in Johannesburg over the weekend. She will be buried in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe on Saturday.
She has gone with the baby that she's carrying.
And for this family, each day brings a new sense of a devastating loss. Caroline Sitole was 6 months pregnant at the time of her death. Her body was retrieved on Saturday after she disappeared during flash floods in Edenvale on Wednesday.
She's a florist. She loved flowers, you know. She was a lovely person.
But closure for the family as Sitole's remains were found. Shadrach Chauge, however, is grief-stricken. The body of his 3-year-old daughter is yet to be recovered.
Whenever I move around here, I imagine her. I never thought I would have lost my daughter this way.
But it's back to square one for the rescue team.
We've covered over 70 cases, but we are not giving up until we reach Hartepie Sports again. We have more teams that are working on the sides of the riverbank just to check the debris.
Government officials have come on board.
We're taking care of the human aspects of the distress. It's social relief of distress that we are actually all about.
While rainy days are not over yet, here, a community is stuck between hope for the best and preparation for the worst. Mariketla Mtlabe, SABC News, Alexandra in the north of Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, a 52-year-old school principal remains in a critical condition after she was stabbed multiple times, allegedly by a former teacher. The incident happened in front of pupils and staff members in Pimville in Soweto. It's believed the teacher was dismissed last year for fraud. Police and Gauteng education authorities are probing the incident.
The Paul Mosaka Primary School.
the scene of a bloody Monday morning attack. The attacker, a former teacher, gained access to the school premises after overpowering a patroller. The hammer-wielding man then smashed the principal's car windscreen before stabbing her in full view of some pupils. The principal's family is in shock.
All I know is my sister is in a critical condition, especially. Apparently there's an artery that the teacher stabbed, so she was bleeding and she bled profusely and she lost a lot of blood. But it's not easy for us as a family. We're still traumatized, very traumatized.
The Department of Education in Gauteng says it's deeply saddened by the incident. Spokesperson Opa Bodibe says the former educator was investigated for a fraudulent qualification in 2014 and dismissed in 2015. The department has provided counseling to all affected staff and pupils. The school governing bodies called on communities to be proactive and help beef up security at schools.
The attack to our managers, the attack to a principal, the attack to our leaders in our schools is an attack to National Association of School Governing Bodies. So the fight is on.
The attacker is in custody.
The suspect is 42 years old. He will be appearing at the Protea Magistrate Court facing charges of attempted murder and malicious damage to property.
The Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lisufi is scheduled to visit the school on Tuesday morning.
Now, teachers with fraudulent qualifications will be uprooted out of the education system. This is a pledge that has been made by the South African Council for Educators. The organization strives to ensure that the education system is enriched by providing properly registered and professionally developed educators.
The unethical conduct of educators is on the rise. SACE processed 593 such complaints in the previous financial year. 25 of the teachers were struck off the roll of educators. 5 others were struck off for definite periods. SACE fears the worst as a total of 33 educators have been struck off the roll indefinitely since April this year.
UniZulu has verified those 25 qualifications as fraudulent qualifications. So what our role as SACE was to see whether indeed they are registered with us as well. And we have picked up that they had registered with us as well.
Educators found guilty of misconduct are now on the register of those declared unfit to work with children.
Corporal punishment is not acceptable and there are no mitigating circumstances. We will not even be able to accept that corporal punishment is accepted in some religious contexts.
The University of KwaZulu-Natal has introduced a Zulu language spell checker and a series of technical words and phrases in isiZulu. The spell checker is a 90% recognition, and this forms part of its plan to start teaching in the language. One of the key developments was the creation of the isiZulu National Corpus, a collection of potentially all the documents that are written in isiZulu. With more than 20 million words, it's one of the biggest collections of African language words in the world and will be available free online. The first terminology bank ready for the discipline of architecture. Others being developed include for anatomy, physics, as well as law. Now, to tell us more about this initiative, we are joined in studio, our Durban studios, that is, by Professor Anuka Vital, the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Teaching and Learning at UKZN. A very good morning to you and welcome, Professor.
Good morning.
Professor, first and foremost, tell us about this groundbreaking initiative. It sounds absolutely fabulous.
Yes, it's been about just over 2 years in the making. And developing the national corpus is key to developing isiZulu as an academic and scientific language. So we're very pleased that we have been able to make the advances that we have. And we're also very pleased that all the human language technologies that we've now made available are going to be open source, so that will promote the development of isiZulu into the future.
Does this spell checker take into account the many different spellings and the many different dialects that we have in African languages?
So the spell checker is based on and draws from the corpus, which means as the corpus develops, the spell checker also improves. The spell checker works like any spell checker in English or in any other language, in that as you use the words, and they are used more frequently, it will show up. If you accept new words, then those new words will become part of it. So it works very much like any other spell checker. And if anybody wants to use it, they can simply Google or get onto the UKZN website and link up with the University Language Planning and Development Office, and they can download the spell checker, and it's available for people to use.
That sounds absolutely terrific. How soon can we see programs or courses being offered then in isiZulu at the institution?
So we do already have some programs that's outside those programs offered in taking isiZulu as a major subject as a language. We have had already developed for some years now modules and programs in education. So for example, teachers taking foundation phase modules to become grade 1, 2, and 3 teachers do already have access to isiZulu modules, and there are plans to develop some of them in some of the majors starting with the College of Humanities. So we expect in the next 2 to 3 years for gradual rollout of that.
How will the spell checker now assist pupils or learners that want to learn the language of isiZulu?
So we do at the moment, as you know, have the requirement that all our students who take undergraduate degrees must have competence in isiZulu. And then we do have students where we do offer tutorials bilingually. So the spell checker is a tool, as any spell checker is to students wanting to both develop knowledge and language competence in isiZulu and be able to move seamlessly between English and isiZulu. So it's a tool that can be used in the media, newspapers. Spell checkers will be used by the students. It has so many applications and uses, as do any spell check of any language. If we think how often we now rely on the English spell checker when we do computing, it will, in a similar way, isiZulu spell checking will now become standard and will assist in the development of standardizing isiZulu as well.
Are there any plans to promote and develop other languages, seeing that you've started now with isiZulu?
Yes, our language policy and plan does promote multilingualism. So we certainly have already started offering Sesotho, a program that is being offered in our residences as a start. And really students are very excited about that, and it's really their interest in wanting to take and learn other African languages that has made us respond to them. We also do have other African languages that are spoken on the continent, Kiswahili. We still continue to offer French as a language that's spoken on the continent. So certainly it is our intention to build on that. We have plans to offer Mandarin through our short courses, extended learning operations. So there's definitely a move towards offering the diversity of languages that students are in fact demanding to learn.
Professor, just in closing, just remind us again of the website and where people can get the spell checker.
So if you just Google University of KwaZulu-Natal, in fact, if you just Google UKZN and you add ULPDO, that's the acronym for the University Language Planning and Development Office, and it will immediately take you to the website, and on the website quite prominently it will show you the spell checker, and you just click on that. There's a space where it tells you how you can download.
Professor, thank you so much for your time, and it sounds like a very exciting period for the university.
Thank you. Yes, we're very excited by this. We want to become the university that anyone who wants to study isiZulu scientifically as a language and in any other way, that from anywhere in the world that they would want to come to UKZN, because we will have the resources and the means for people to actually study, develop and contribute to the development of isiZulu.
Professor, thank you once again. That was Professor Renuka Vital, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Training and Teaching, and Learning at University of KwaZulu-Natal. You have to go there if you want to start learning Zulu. We'll take a short break. We'll be back right after that.
Something called, what, threads or something? What is that?
Yeah, so people, you know, with a bit of sagging, so you're in your mid-40s, not quite ready for surgery, not entirely happy with the way your jawline looks, it has a bit of a jolly look, so that's where threads come in. So it's a non-surgical procedure.
What causes acne?
Common causes of acne are genetics, can be hormonal as well, so that's why you see it normally in sort of your prepubescent or your pubescent teenagers. There can be social causes as well.
Varicose veins versus spider veins.
Those large, big, tortuous blood vessels that run down your legs, those are varicose veins. They're typically more than 3 to 5 millimeters in size. And then those very thin, fine, thready veins, and they can be a variety of colors, purple, blue, red. So those are the spider veins.
Join Health Talk every Saturday for all your health news.
Last week, telecommunications giant MTN and Huawei jointly launched the smart meter or the smart water metering solution. That's the first narrowband Internet of Things solution in South Africa. Now, the smart water metering solution enables the automated collection of utility meter data. While on the other hand, as it currently stands, manual meter reading leads to high labor cost and missing or inaccurate data. Through sensors installed in water meters, customers can now identify water pipeline leakages earlier. Now, to tell us more about this exciting initiative, we are joined from our Sea Point studios by the Chief Enterprise Officer at MTN Business, Alpheus Mankale. Mr. Mankale, very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you, Elvis. Thanks for having me.
Take us through your smart water metering solution. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely. In fact, it's quite perfect timing. I'm actually down here at AfricaCom, which is the 19th event of AfricaCom here in Cape Town. AfricaCom is actually the equivalent of Mobile World Congress, we probably would guess for Africa specifically. What is exciting for us is here in Cape Town, we will be launching a first innovation in Africa with a partner, Huawei, around the narrowband IoT specific technology. I think if we refer to IoT as a market, overall, the industry estimates that over 100 billion devices will be connected on the internet over the next 5 years or so, by year 2020. And if you then look at specifically in Africa, which is where it brings the excitement for us, we are launching the first of its kind in Africa to connect devices and sensors through what we call NB-IoT, which is Narrowband Internet of Things protocol. This allows a number of industry around healthcare, public services, industry, in agriculture and the like, to actually connect into this world of Internet of Things. And specifically around this innovation is the fact that NB-IoT standard leverages the investment that MTN, over the many years or 2 decades or so that we've been in existence, of actually deploying mobile infrastructure across the continent. And with that, with the standard, it actually allows us to be able to connect the rest of all these Internet of Things components into this infrastructure.
But how does it actually work?
So specifically, if I were to talk about the smart meter solution today, so if you use pure layman terms, so these sensors that are NB-IoT enabled are actually installed in the water meters, and then what they do is they monitor the flow of the water as water actually flow either into your house or into a major pipeline, but that is actually being utilized by the major utility organization or utility companies that provide us with water services. And these smart meters, actually what they do is they monitor the utilization of that, they monitor the leakages. So in actual fact today, I think we know very well that the utility companies actually send people on daily basis or monthly basis to go to our houses or to corporate environment to actually go and read the water meters. Now with this technology, the water meter actually will be able to report on a daily basis, on even on multiple intervals, as to whether we've got water leakages on the pipeline, or even actually enabling the utility companies to actually provide this reading of the meters, and they can actually provide accurate bills, which means it will actually increase also customer satisfaction, because you will be billed for what you use rather than maybe assumptions be made on that. The same technology, even though we're launching it on the smart meters, could be used on multiple other areas. I mentioned at the beginning that we're estimating that across the world there will be over 100 billion devices connected. If you just take the same concept and take it into wildlife tracking. Today, I guess in South Africa, we have the challenges of actually tracking wild animals, point in case being obviously the endangered species being the rhinos. One of the things that we can do with this technology, actually we can develop these sensors that the rhinos could actually wear, and they will be connecting to the mobile infrastructure that we've deployed across the country, and tracking them wherever they are, and be able to report exactly whether for any of the activities that could be presenting risk to them. And the same technology could be applied to multiple areas across the continent.
What inspired this idea?
In fact, one of the greatest things that MTN prides itself is, I think we led the evolution of the mobile technology. I think today, if you look at Africa as a continent, we connect users, over 234 million users across the continent. We drove the digital evolution in this continent. And I think it's quite fitting now with the Internet of Things that MTN actually lead the digital and the inclusion of Africa into the Africa of Things market. And specifically, if you look at the potential advantage that Africa stands to gain around the agriculture and the farming industry, the tracking solution around fleet companies that move from South Africa to the rest of Africa, to actually health services, in fact, where you can start now wearing wearable devices that we can actually track the health of people across the continent. So MTN has been obviously been coming up with multiple innovations in the past, and I think this specific one, we're quite proud that in partnering with Huawei, who's been a strategic partner in the industry to do this.
Where and when will you be rolling it out?
So we have conducted a number of pilots now. The pilot is actually being based out of Gauteng, and our intention is actually to conclude that, and we're going to be launching, obviously, the services onto the market early part of 2017, and later on, then we'll obviously roll that out across the rest of the continent and also other markets that we operate in. As you probably know, MTN operates across multiple countries, over 22 countries in total across Africa and Middle East. So the intention is to launch these services in South Africa first, obviously as a primary market, and then go into the rest of the continent together with our partners, Huawei.
Now, the positive is that we will have accurate meter readings, but the negative, of course, on the other hand, is there's going to be job losses for people that can't read meters anymore.
Actually, if you think about it, it's not necessarily about job losses, but actually what allows the utility companies to actually redirect those scarce resources to other areas of the business. So in my view, I think through this innovation that you're finding, I mean the smart meter specifically, it will be able to direct the utility companies to actually focus when the problems are in the pipelines of providing water to you and I. Today, I think one of the challenges we actually have even in South Africa, where you have water, actually, which is a very scarce resource, being wasted without obviously having the intelligence system to pick up when these faults are actually occurring or the water leakages are occurring. So with the utility companies now, with this type of systems and information available at their fingertips, they are able to direct those type of people that would have gone to read the water meters to go and actually address the problems that affect water availability across the continent and, I guess, in South Africa.
A very fair argument, and I take that one. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Alpheus Mangale. He's the Chief Enterprise Officer at MTN Business, talking to us about the smart water meter reading solution. Well, it's going to be done for you. Nobody's going to come to your house and read it again. Well, there you have it. We're going to take a short break. Kendall Makamate standing by with your sports news.
A presumed U.S. drone strike in the south of the country has killed 3 al-Qaeda suspects.
Death toll in Yemen's 18-month-old civil war now stands at about 10,000.
People get killed or die and are actually buried before they're recorded, and we don't have a way of recording that, but we know the numbers are much higher.
Water restrictions are to be imposed on villages in and around the Nkomazi municipality.
Pumps can't pump the water because there's no water in a river. And if the water is coming back, then it's full of mud.
Those who can pray and those who can do any miracle to make sure that we've got enough rain, give it a try.
Hello, good morning. South Africa have become only the 3rd team in history to beat Australia in 3 consecutive Test series at home. Kyle Abbott and Kagiso Rabada bowled superbly to skittle Australia out for 161 this morning, the 4th day of the 2nd Test in Hobart. The Proteas won the Test by a massive innings and 80 runs. Accolades have been pouring in for the team, who've come back from a very tough year last year and are without both A.B. de Villiers as well as Dale Steyn in this series. Here's Captain Faf du Plessis.
Sure. 8 for 40. Rocked up to our bowlers. I thought yesterday we were exceptional. We didn't get the rewards we wanted, but that was exactly what we wanted to do. Come back this morning, just make sure we were relentless in our areas, and we knew if we do those things again, the wickets will come, and they did.
Kyle Abbott's tailor-made for that pitch.
Yeah, I mean, all our bowlers were exceptional. When you play 3 seamers attack, they have to stand up at different times in the game. But I'm so happy for Abbo. He's a guy that most of the time sits on the side because of the great bowlers we have, but every single time he gets an opportunity, he puts his hand up. So he's a fantastic bowler, so I'm just really chuffed that he's got 6 for and won a massive game of cricket for us and to win the series.
We felt that the standard was initially set by Vernon Philander.
Yeah, Vern on a wicket like that is going to be very tough. He's a guy that doesn't give you much to hit. He's very consistent in his areas, and he was very difficult to play. So he set the tone for us. But everything we did in this match, once again, was from that. Our catching in the first innings was phenomenal. The batting, there was guys that put their hand up on a difficult wicket. Quinnier played an exceptional knock with Temba. And then once again in the second innings, we're just relentless. We don't let the pressure go. As a bowling unit, we're there all the time, and in the field, we back it up.
Any message for AB and Dale at home?
Enjoy it, celebrate it with us. They know, they experience guys. They know coming to Australia is one of the hardest places to come and win. The Australian cricket team is a tough team to beat in the home soil. So to come here and do it 2-0 is special for us as a team, but we share that specialness with great players in our side like Dale and AB, who's been here lots of times and worked really hard to try and get games of cricket to win. But it's special for us to win a series 2-0 with 1 to play. We've had a good 2 or 3 months as a team, and I'm just really proud of the way the team is moving forward. We're challenging each other. We want to go to places where it's almost unlikely to go, and you can see that's happening.
Well, you're going to a place in 8 days' time that you haven't been to before, a day-night test.
That's obviously a first. I'm just going to leave it for a week's time. I think it's important that we really, really enjoy this moment. It's really special for us to do this. But when we get there, it will be a challenge in the pink ball and an opportunity to beat Australia 3-0. I don't think there's many sides, if there was any, that could come over across all this way and do this to Australian team. So that will certainly be our mission.
So Kyle Abbott came into the Test series unsure if he was among the team's top 4 pace bowlers. Yet he finished his man of the match in South Africa's innings demolition of Australia in Hobart earlier this morning. Here are the wickets as they fell. Come on, man.
Got him.
Outstanding stuff from Carl Abbott.
Oh, it's out. That is out. That's out. That's another one out.
Oh, what a beauty, and a wicket. Always a big shout, they like that, the South Africans, and up goes that finger. Oh, he's got another one, there it is. Rabada's now got 4, he's in this game.
He's been superb as well. Edged, and there it is, 5 wickets for Carl Abbott. Solely deserved. 24 overs. That could be it. Yes, it is. South Africa have wrapped up the second test match. Carl Abbott picks up his 6th wicket. And the test match is wrapped up. The series is finished. And the South African team has been very professional since the close of play on day 1 in the first test match.
The opening wins for new world number 1 Andy Murray and Japan's Kei Nishikori at the ATP World Tour Finals. Murray recorded an impressive 6-3, 6-2 defeat of Croatian powerhouse Marin Cilic at the O2 Arena. Murray fought off a succession of break points in the opening set, and although he did drop his serve once, he replied with 2 breaks of the Cilic serve to take the set in 45 minutes. The battle-hardened Scot broke in the 5th game of the second set with a belting forehand, and again 2 games later as Cilic ran out of ideas. Murray wrapped up a 20th consecutive victory with a flourish to join Japan's Kei Nishikori at the top of the John McEnroe group. Nishikori dispatched Stan Wawrinka 6-2, 6-3 in a one-sided clash. From the opening game, Wawrinka had to save 2 break points. The 31-year-old struggled, and Nishikori duly got the first break in the 5th game. Nishikori, who could still finish the year at a career-high 3rd in the ATP rankings, claims her revenge for this year's US Open semi-final loss when he again broke to end the contest. Now, amid coaching turmoil, South Africa will face Mozambique for an international friendly at the Estadio Nacional de Zumpeto in Maputo this evening. The match is set to kick off at 7 p.m. Central African time. Bafana come into the game fresh from a morale-boosting 2-1 win over Senegal in a 2018 World Cup qualifier this past weekend. While the result saw the team take a major step towards Russia 2018, the aftermath has seemingly thrown the camp into disarray and chaos, with the coach, Shakes Mashaba, suspended. Now for a quick look at Bafana's starting lineup for tonight. Williams, Batlele, Matoho, Daniels, Hlatshwayo, Tulani Hlatshwayo's captain, then Clayt Mabunda, Kikana, Phala, Mahlangu, and Lars Veldwijk, all getting a starting runner. Now staying with footballing news, it will be a Latin extravaganza as Peru hosts Brazil and Chile hosts Uruguay in their respective World Cup qualifying matches tonight. All this as England's 3 Lions host the Spanish squad at Wembley for a friendly clash.
Brazil has taken the World Cup qualifying campaign to the South American West Coast, training in Lima for their battle with Peru at the Estadio Nacional today. Brazil leads with 24 points, while Peru is 8th on 14. Brazil captain Fernandinho does not expect it to be a walkover from the feisty Peruvians, with the coach Adeno Pachi signaling out Peru's Christian Cueva and Paulo Guerrero as constant threats. Chile and Uruguay will go head-to-head in their own qualifying match in Santiago, with Chilean coach Juan Antonio Pizzi poised to give Uruguay a run for their money. Pizzi says Chile's development of games is played out precisely in the middle of the field, where Chile is superior, whether it be the player's skill or ball circulation. Pizzi confirmed that he would be fielding Arturo Vidal and Claudio Bravo despite some bruises. Alexis Sanchez has been declared fit to play, even though his club, Arsenal, are concerned he may aggravate a past hamstring injury. With 17 points, Chile is currently in 5th place in the South America preliminary competition, which will automatically send 4 teams to the World Cup finals in Russia. Uruguay are 2nd in place at 23 points, 1 point behind Brazil. A hop and skip across the pond lands us in Wembley, where England will host Spain in a friendly match today. Both teams top the World Cup qualifying groups, but both sides are still adapting to uncertain times under new managers. Spain, who have looked convincing in their World Cup qualifying campaign so far, expect a tough contest against the home side, who have been in good form of late. Experienced midfielder Sergio Busquets says the competition for places in the team will drive players such as Ander Herrera, Celta Vigo and Iago Aspas, who are in line for their Spanish debut. England haven't faced Spain in competitive competition since England won on penalties in Euro 96, but the Spaniards have won 4 of the 6 friendlies since then.
All right, it's on days like this that I really love my job, to be able to bring you such great news of the Proteas absolutely demolishing the Australian batting lineup, dominating them with ball and with bat throughout the series so far. We've got one more to go. It's a pink ball test that's happening later on this month. That's where we leave it with the sport. Up next, we have a look at the weather.